Safe to say that the highest snowfall rates in that area are all wrapped up, but as we've seen in Walhalla and Clemson, snow is still at the very least falling. And as you can see, the trees covered, producing some very beautiful pictures, so I don't want to overlook how neat this is for a lot of you, especially in some of you who live south of 85 who may not get snow. I had a viewer comment on Facebook that in Lawrence, which is not usually a place you hear of having snow with our typical winter weather systems, but they are some of the lucky beneficiaries of it. As we sit here this afternoon, or I should say soon to be this afternoon. Here's another live look in Walhalla where cars are going very slowly. And we have that picture in Walhalla where drivers are taking it very slowly with slushy roads. As you can see, the left lane a little bit slushier than the right, but we want to take this more seriously the farther west you go. So that's where it appears that the conditions are the worst, areas west of Greenville. So all we're seeing now is flying flakes after just looking outside the back. I wouldn't say it's a heavy snow rate, but it definitely makes for a beautiful scenery. So if you're just waking up, look out the window. It is really something. So this is probably Oconee or Anderson.
That's 85.
Anderson, yeah.
19 to 21 is close to there. So yeah, we got snow coming down. It's reduced visibility too. So that's something that folks have got to think about.
I do want to point out that if we can take Max 1 with the temperatures really quickly, the temperature now in Anderson, which is very close to that camera side, is 32. And if you've been keeping tabs here, Greenville's temperature downtown has dropped, and Kendra was explaining was expected to happen, and Clemson is still at 31, and that's the reason that we have seen that one accident most likely due to the weather in Central, and it's because those temperatures are hovering near freezing and the snow is falling hard enough in those spots to overcome slightly warmer ground temperatures and is able to stick. We're not seeing that everywhere, which is great.
And we saw the same
downtown Greenville.
And we saw the same thing happen last Friday. Temperature started in the upper 30s to around 40. Downtown Greenville, seeing the snow come down. You can see it's already coating the tops of those vehicles. Again, we continue to see the snow come down across much of Greenville County and not causing problems yet. And it really, at this point, we haven't had major issues. We did have that one accident that happened. It was, I believe, in Oconee County. Oh no, sorry, Pickens County in Central over an overpass.
Yeah, and maybe we can take our tower cam just to see how things are looking near East Greenville, because that's downtown, and
your windshield wiper.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Maybe we do have, I don't know if we have a way to clean off the lens that so we can actually see, but you get the idea. It is snowing out there. And for anyone who's going to be tuning in for the basketball game coming up on Fox, we will be going to the basketball game at 12, but you can catch us
as soon as it tips off.
As soon as it tips off, exactly. And that will happen. We'll find out from production control, but we will stay Facebook Live. And there's our windshield, our little wiper there.
Love that.
So now we see.
Now we see it's
now we can see it is snowing. But we will be going to the game. If you are tuning in and waiting for the game to start, we will go as soon as tip-off happens on Fox, and then we will be Facebook Live, and we'll break back in as necessary to bring you updates, especially if we're hearing of any problems. But again, right now, what you can see from this view is that we have reduced visibility currently across the area, and we can go to graphics and see that on our graphics system. You can see that we have down to 1/3 of a mile visibility, so almost like we just have fog, but really it's just the snow coming down that's creating such difficult visibility and driving conditions. It's still perfect 10 for Spartanburg and Greenwood, but that will be picking up as all of this rolls through. It is right now about 11:56. We expect the conditions to improve in Oconee and Pickens counties in the next hour and a half to 2 hours, and then we'll see this continue in Greenville and Spartanburg between now and around 3 to 4 p.m., and then we'll be seeing it all push out towards your evening hours.
I do want to pass along, Kendra, to another report from the National Weather Service. The bridge at Highway 24 and Highway 11, slick conditions in Oconee County, and again, that's just kind of driving home the same point. Oconee is kind of ground zero for potential road issues, and just want to also hit home that that's really going to be a localized thing in Oconee County. We're not expecting any major issues of those caliber here in Greenville.
Yeah, and again, if whatever we do see, if there are any issues in the Greenville County area, Spartanburg County, we do expect them to be fairly isolated if we do have them. But that's a reason we've just got to remain on guard. I want you to stick with me as we continue to, or stick with us as we continue to bring you updates. And we'll be sending it to the Fox Carolina News app. That's a great thing to have right now to stay updated on what exactly is happening. We have a new Falls Park shot that we'll be taking in just a second. You can see where that winter weather advisory is, though. It does not include Greenville, Spartanburg, or Anderson. But right now, there we go. There's Falls Park. It is coming down. It's more than flurries now. It is officially lightly snowing in downtown Greenville. Again, this is Falls Park. It's wet out there. You can see everything's melting, and that should be the case through a good chunk of the afternoon. One good thing about the timing of this for the roads, it's not sunny outside, but there's still radiation from the sun coming through, and that helps things to not freeze over. It's the nightfall that's really going to get us when it comes to any icy spots. And we're hoping this can wrap up in time for things to dry out a bit before we get those temperatures that go back down to freezing. But again, live look, if you live around Greenville and you're curious about the conditions, no issues right now, just wet, and with that snow coming down, and then it'll start to accumulate on those elevated surfaces. But we've been warmer in Greenville than we have been across areas like Seneca, Walhalla, Westminster. We're going to take the SCDOT cam right now, and this is mile marker 21 in Anderson County, I believe, here, as the snow is coming down, reduced visibility. And keep in mind, these DOT cameras are higher up, so this isn't exactly what it looks like right at the surface, but it gives you an idea of how difficult it is to see at times as the snow is rolling in. And again, this is a situation you may be tuning in and wondering, what exactly is happening, because if you haven't kept up with the weather in the last 24 hours, it has evolved from Friday. We were seeing the potential for a few flakes in the upstate, very, very brief, and then all of a sudden we've seen it get colder and colder and colder on our weather models, and that ended up helping us to see full-blown snow. And there it is in Travelers Rest. Yeah, it looks like full-blown snow there, maybe a few sleet pellets mixed in, but at this point it looks like it's mostly snow. We're just not seeing those fat flakes like we were seeing out to the west, and that again may be a trend as we see this push through
and in
eastern
Elbert County,
sections.
I know you solicited some feedback from our folks down there, and Tom in Rock Branch, Elbert County, steady snow just in the last hour, so since about 11 a.m.
Elbert County, wow.
So, even though the radar is kind of showing rain there, it at least has snowed at times there in Rock Branch and maybe mixing with a little rain, but still, radar's a little misleading and, can oftentimes misjudge the temperature profile of the atmosphere and basically kind of misread what's happening. And that's why viewers are so important in times like these, and always, because radar is great, but without that pair of eyes, we have no idea what's actually happening there.
Absolutely. And just to remind folks, we're hitting the noon hour, and we'll find out when that basketball game is tipping off on Fox if you're tuning in to watch that right now. That's what a lot of people enjoy doing on their Saturdays, just watching a little basketball, and we'll be going back to that once the tip-off has started, and we'll be staying Facebook Live. Yeah. But again, this is outside our station on the east side of Greenville. It is coming down now, and it will continue to for at least the next couple of hours right now. Then we do have the back edge. 6 more minutes until tip-off as it looks, so we will be staying on Fox Carolina until then, and then we will continue Facebook Live as we get a little bit closer, or as we continue to watch all of this move through and see some of the bigger impacts happen around the Greenville area. So yeah, the radar, we can go back to that. It's a little bit deceptive right now because it's showing that we have rain starting to slowly infringe on southern upstate, but until I get a report of rain out of Greenwood or Abbeville or Elberton, I'm not going to believe it. It looks like it's mostly snow still, but that is a sign in the algorithm showing at least some warming in certain layers, meaning that we're probably going to see this full-blown snow wind down over the next couple hours, Ben.
Either that, or it might just be flakes that are melting on their way to the ground. Which,
so Ware Shoals, viewer telling me in Ware Shoals it's snowing, which would be kind of on that line down there.
Exactly, right on the line of where we're seeing the red and the snow or the red.
Which that would be northern Abbeville County, I believe.
Yes,
Yep.
exactly.
Yep. So I'm really waiting to see if we get any viewers from Greenwood at this point, because according to radar, one would assume that it's rain. I mean, if we look at temperatures again, one would think that, based on just surface temperature, there's no way in whatever that that it'd be snowing. But the thing is, it's now down to 33 degrees in downtown Greenville. I just checked our GSP temperature. We are still at 35 degrees. So some snow falling. Looks like it's melting for now as it falls in Greenville, but some is piling up. I would say Anderson, Pickens, and Oconee counties. Those are the areas where I would heed the most caution on the roads. So some slush. There we could see that spill the beans here in downtown Greenville. A pretty good rate of snowfall.
Yeah,
and flakes are getting beat.
We're down to 33 there.
33 degrees at the downtown airport, which is right off of Pleasantburg Drive, so not directly in downtown Greenville. But GSP still reporting 35 degrees, which I find a little interesting, as we were 35 degrees at the last hour. It started snowing probably, around 11:20, 11:30, give or take. So after 30 minutes of snow, temperature did not respond, didn't go down, didn't go up. We now have a southwest wind at the airport, oddly enough, as well, at about 5 to 10 miles per hour. So I wonder if that's maybe playing a role, too. But you have to remember, it also snowed in some of those areas down there, so that's got a little bit of snow cover. So just a very topsy-turvy day in terms of weather.
Yeah, we don't have any big cold air masses heading our way, so it's not like temperatures will drop from that. But we are seeing that cooling process as the snow and the rain come down, or at least when it comes and melts here at the surface. That's actually a cooling process. So we're ending up seeing that cooler air take over. So we go from 35 degrees to 33 degrees, and we'll see how low it goes. Right now, I don't expect necessarily to see temperatures way below freezing in the upstate, but we're going to come close to having those temperatures cold enough for icy spots on bridges and overpasses. It's just something we're going to have to watch for. We're looking live right outside our station, I-85. Looks like the grassy surface is not completely coated yet, but that will happen as we've seen all over the western part of the upstate. The snow is coming down. We're going to see coating on those high elevated surfaces, those grasses, and then the roads eventually, if the snow stays heavy for long enough period of time. We've seen it all around Georgia. That's been a big issue today. A lot of folks sharing pictures out of Atlanta where they are coated in the white stuff currently. And again, this is on the east side of Greenville, right outside of our studios. So
I do want to remind everyone too, as you mentioned, as we're about to go to the game here shortly, but just if we can take Max 1 again, if you're just joining us and haven't seen the forecast really quickly, we're still not expecting, again, accumulating snow on roads in Greenville, but the greater Greenville area, as we see now, I think it's fairly certain that we will have a dusting. But farther west, as you mentioned, Kendra, we will have some accumulation out toward Pickens and Clemson.
Oh, yeah, we've already seen that. And you'll be able to tune in Facebook Live. Go to Facebook, Fox Carolina News, and we will have a live video of constant updates there, because we will be pitching to the basketball game here in just a second. So it may cut us off as we're talking whenever we do actually go. But just keep in mind, if you lose us on Fox Carolina and you're not, you maybe want to watch the game but also have the Facebook Live running, that's a good way to do it. Grab your tablet and we can stick with you as all of this is coming down. And the Fox Carolina News app is a great thing to have, because again, you can go to our app and click on the live video and you can watch us right there on your phone. So many different ways that you can get us, and we will keep you well covered as the snow just keeps coming down in Walhalla and continuing on through Oconee County, Stevens County, and we're seeing that snow, the rain to the south. I say that we're seeing the green color, but we have not actually had any true rain reports. But notice that it seems like that rain, some warmer temperatures are trying to encroach on the southern part of the upstate, but right now most of our reports down there are of snow, and it's probably a mix of rain and snow in a lot of those areas where we're seeing some of the green.
I was looking at a couple of viewer comments on our live feed, and a couple of viewers reporting a very, very light snow, wishing that there was more snow, and some viewers also reporting rain. So it might be one of those, depends on what part of town you're on.
Okay, it looks like we're going to be heading on to the basketball game for those who are watching Fox Carolina right now, and we will be Facebook Live for you with all the updates you need.
The app.
And inside our Fox Carolina News app. Thanks, Isaac. All right. Hey there,
Okay.
Facebook. We
Yeah.
are still here with you.
We're trying something newish today, I think.
Yes. Yeah. Well, and again, we have not seen this to be a life-threatening situation at all at this point. We have had an accident in Pickens County Central. There was
Yes.
a bridge where we had one accident so far. So there's no need to cover basketball at this point, but we will come back to the basketball game later if necessary. But again, right now, we're seeing that snow push in, and the back edge of the snow is quickly rushing to the east. So Georgia will be done with it here very soon. There is our back edge now, so likely we'll be done in Rabun County within the next hour. And then we'll see that clear in the next couple hours across the Greenville area, which models have done a decent job with, at least it seems like with the timing of all this. I'd say early afternoon. So there we go with about 2 p.m. We'll start. I take that green with a grain of salt.
Yeah.
That's probably
Yeah, I was
going to be snow. As we go toward 3, 4 o'clock, though, I do kind of buy the fact that we're going to start to see that moisture fizzle out a little bit, and then we'll continue to see a few snow showers up in the mountains. But this has been one of those forecasts that has just changed so much over the last 24 hours. So thanks for bearing with us. We've been bringing you updates as those changes have come through.
The GSP's down to 34, Ben, so we've
right
probably
now,
lost a degree.
we're looking at mile marker 23. So this is near Anderson, getting a little bit closer to Greenville, kind of the Greenville side of Anderson. And we're seeing the snow come down, but people are driving along okay. Hopefully not quite going to the speed limit. Yeah, just not following too closely behind, too, because there is reduced visibility, blowing snow, and not something that our area has had to deal with in quite some time. Luckily, this is a different situation than when we saw that snow jam in Atlanta many years ago, where that snow came up and just caused so many issues. The good news is that temperatures are not below freezing for most of the area, so we're seeing wet roads. This is not flash freezing on roadways, which is a very good thing. It was scary, though, this morning to wake up to temperatures in the mid-20s. Luckily, temps did warm up enough to where we're right around freezing. And I'll say this, when you're at freezing, it's not good, but it doesn't mean you're going to see frozen areas on roadways, especially during the day. It needs to get to 30, 29 to start seeing widespread road problems. And we're not seeing that in any of our locations right now. Up in the mountains, we have seen it get down to 29 in Waynesville, 27 in Brevard. Here's a look in TR, though. Still above freezing, and we're looking at the light snow coming down. Really has not been as heavy in TR, unless we're just seeing a road, the view we're looking at just kind of skews it to look lighter. But right now, it hasn't been as heavy, and we're seeing some wet spots on those roadways. And it doesn't even look like we've had a whole lot of, we've had some accumulation on the roofs there as it looks now. But TR, not seeing quite as much as those around Oconee County and Pickens County at this point. But no reason to let your guard down. Again, we're not trying to scare you. None of us think this is going to be a major event, life-threatening situation at all. We do not have a winter storm on our hands, but this is certainly a big snow by our standards around here, because we are seeing it accumulate. Look at that outside our deck at Fox Carolina, where we often do a lot of our reporting there, standing in the snow, and you can see it is coming down, melting on contact with surfaces. In fact, next time we take the deck shot, see if we can pan down perhaps to the actual deck to see if it is accumulating at any point. But we are looking on our tower cam. Oh, and Isaac can tell us.
It is sticking a little bit on the weather deck back
Okay,
there.
that's exactly what happened last Friday too. I mean,
Yeah.
it's an elevated surface, so it cools down quickly. So that will be your biggest issue. So if you're getting the kiddos out to play in the snow, just keep in mind that there could be some slippery areas, or at least some slush on your deck. So if they're walking out to play in the snow, hold their hand, make sure they're good until they get out into the grass, or maybe the driveway, which would not be frozen over at that point. But this is good playing in snow because it's not icy outside. Conditions are generally okay. Roads seem to be running fine. But hopefully folks are taking it slow. That's going to be the huge issue. If you've got folks that are in a hurry, that's where we can get into some problems. And they're still going pretty fast out there. But mind you, main roads, we've had no indication of problems. It's just wet. But there's going to be distracted driving out there as the snow comes down. People are going to say, whoa, and look around and might not be paying attention as well to their surroundings. And we can go back to our temperature map really quick. And you can see that we have temps hovering, not very, it's uncomfortably close to freezing. But as I was mentioning, Ben, 33, 32, It's concerning, but it's still at or above freezing is not going to cause a lot of widespread issues. It's when you get down to 30, 29 degrees, that's when you start to see the more problematic icing on roadways.
Precisely. 33 degrees in downtown Greenville for the time being. We also have a live look at current conditions at GSP. We've gone down a degree. We're down to 34 degrees, which, again, not surprising. When you have snow falling for a solid hour or so, it is going to inevitably cool you down a little bit. The question is, how much will it cool us down? Our wind is out of the west at 6 miles per hour, which we've got some snow cover out there. So normally, in normal weather conditions, west wind would mean that would be filtering in warmer air, but now you've got some pretty decent snowpack out there in places like Oconee County. So in terms of the dangerous conditions, where is it the worst? Well, it lines up pretty well with that winter weather advisory, and it's for Pickens, Oconee, Pickens and Oconee counties. I would even go as far as to say to include Anderson County in that, because, we've gotten reports. I just saw a viewer comment on Facebook on our live stream about some slushy secondary roads in Liberty, which I believe is Anderson County, if I recall.
Liberty is Pickens County.
It's Pickens County. Okay.
Not too far, but yeah, it's right there in Pickens County.
Yeah, but Anderson has seen some snow. A lot of viewers have commented that they are receiving snow. It doesn't look like we're seeing any snow melting on that correlation coefficient.
Yes, right. So Rock Branch and Elbert County still reporting snow, despite the fact that this radar is showing green. And basically, I'm not going to bore you with the semantics here, but this is just our regular radar. And when we throw on the same quad box, we've got, I'll throw the radar back on for you. Again, bottom left is Walhalla. The middle one looks like our tower cam. And then finally, our Clemson in the bottom right.
Wow.
And again, that just kind of matches up exactly with what the radar is showing.
So Oconee, Pickens, and Greenville counties coming down.
It is coming down hard out there. In fact, it is noticeably increased on our tower cam, and really everywhere that we are showing you that it's snowing right now in those 3 video boxes on your screen is fairly heavy. And that's I don't want to say surprising, but based on yesterday's forecast, this is a surprise. But thankfully, we were seeing enough evidence overnight and into this morning to kind of adjust the forecast and get you ready for this. If you got up early and we were updating you online and on our Facebook page, and so trying to get you ahead of this incoming winter weather.
Yeah, and I've also noticed, I'm on our CAD system here that monitors accidents, car accidents, traffic reports on area roads. I have noticed the number of Oconee County car accidents go up in the last about hour or so. So I'm not sure if they're directly related to weather, but we started, I think, with about 3 or 4 accidents in the whole county as the snow was starting. We're up to like 7 or 8 right now. So,
okay, and that's going to be expected in these situations, unfortunately, especially where we've had that heavy snow persisting for so long. That's where we're going to have the biggest issues. And a winter weather advisory continues for Oconee and Pickens counties. That's where we would see the greatest risk for auto accidents, for issues on the roads, for slippery areas. Northern Greenville County also, even though we have not had a lot of issues in TR, but just farther north than that, we could have those issues potentially. So again, we're monitoring roads very closely, and we've got our eyes and ears all over our wonderful photographers who came in, some of them on a Saturday when they weren't even supposed to work, to come help us cover all of this. We have live looks pretty much all over the place. So we'll continue to bring you those. Let's actually, if we can go back to the full screen radar, I'll point out a few things that we have going on. We have, again, some green here that might be a little bit confusing to some because it may not actually be rain that we're seeing where the green is happening. We've had reports of snow in Elbert County. Would not surprise me if it's snowing in Greenwood, unless I don't know if either of you heard any reports in Greenwood
I've heard
yet.
a little bit of both. I've had one viewer say it was light rain. I've had another viewer that said some light snow, some snow mix.
So it may be this is definitely our divide line from where it's a solid snow, and then you're going to see a mix of some snow reports, of some rain reports, rain and snow mix. Up in the mountains, it's a pure snow. Heaviest band though right here, that's moving through Clemson. But here's our back edge. I mean, it's slowly making its way. So Clemson, Walhalla, Westminster, it will likely start to ease up for you in the next hour, so you'll have a little bit of time to dry out, Isaac.
Yeah, and I was just going to point along, since we're now just not on the air, we can maybe channel a little more science.
There you go. Facebook Live it.
The same product that we use to determine debris with tornado warnings, we can also use to find the melting layer, which I just kind of was thinking through this. The melting layer is below the radar beam, and so it is basically we can't tell exactly where that melting is happening, and so that's why the radar is continuing to think that it may be raining in Greenwood when in fact it may be mixing with some snow because of the fact that that melting layer is so close to the surface. And again, with computer models, they're great, but they really didn't do the best job with this. But thankfully, we were seeing enough evidence from this morning to, kind of, again, adjust the forecast just a bit and let you know that we are seeing the snow move in. And as that snow continues, we're going to continue to see these temperatures hover near freezing in spots. But Ben, you've been kind of watching our feed as well, and viewers chiming in with what they're seeing too.
Yeah, first official report coming in from National Weather Service, a half an inch accumulating on cars in Easley. That's our first official report from National Weather Service.
And I believe we have the an Easley shot available. If not, maybe we can get it at some point. Oh, okay, he left. Okay, we moved him to Falls Park.
Yeah,
Okay.
as the snow kind of moves east, we're moving our photographers that direction.
Gotcha. Yeah, so the temperature's still hovering around the freezing mark in and around the Clemson and Greenville areas. And again, as long as it's above freezing, we're going to be okay. But it's in that Oconee County area that's where it is most problematic. And Ben mentioned there are now several, more than 5 vehicular accidents that are likely due to the weather out there, because we have seen snow there for now probably 2 hours of pretty intensity, for lack of redundancy there. But again, the rain is trying to nose its way northward, but that snow is holding steady in most of the upstate. A couple areas of pink showing up, maybe, as Kendra was mentioning, a little bit of sleet in a couple of spots. But overall, this, as we've been seeing, has been largely snow out there. And also, even as far south as Elbert County in northeast Georgia, we've seen now an hour's worth of snow, according to some of our viewers out in the community of Rock Branch. So again, maybe we can take another round robin video tour for you and show you some live pictures. Again, that's the radar. There's Clemson from our graphics computer. And again, it looks like it may not be quite as intense, but obviously still snowing, obviously turning the ground white. But the walkways, the sidewalks, this is encouraging to see. They are not white like everything else is. So that is some good news.
And we're starting, and I was just going to say, we're seeing that trend we thought we'd see. It's starting to get lighter from west to east. So yeah, there's that Easley pic.
This is Easley. Roads okay, grassy surfaces, the roofs of the cars themselves turning white there. But again, encouraging thing there.
Aww.
Roads are fine. Adorable kids. Adam's kids.
Adam, our director.
Our weekend director, Adam,
Yes.
his kids, all excited. I mean, it's like a snow day, but a Saturday. So that's the best kind.
Less stress for parents,
Exactly.
and they can get. And
this was on the heels of the weather day that we ended up having yesterday.
That's at Homeland Park is where we're looking now.
Homeland Park, and we just love seeing your viewer pictures and videos, because we can't get enough of this Saturday snow. That's, again, is 95% a novelty event, Kendra, just causing a few issues in a couple spots.
Yeah, and that's one of the reasons we are here. We'd be here if it's snowing no matter what, but there is that chance with the fact that, the heavy rain or heavy snow, I can't want to say heavy rain, goodness. I'm just not trained to say snow right now. We haven't had any. But this is Anderson. Again, we're going to potentially see some isolated issues on roads. We're not expecting them to be widespread. And this right here from Anderson currently of the rain, of the snow. Gosh, see what I keep saying, rain. Come on, Kendra.
You're wish casting for rain.
Yes, get with the winter weather program here. Snow is coming down. That's what's falling right now. And we will continue to see it over the next few hours, but it is starting to get lighter. So I was making that point with Isaac, as this snow is pushing eastward, it's getting heavier in Greenville and towards Spartanburg, but it's going to start to lighten up as we see the back edge of all of this moisture push into Oconee County and Pickens
Rabin County, 4 inches of snow falling there. Roads impassable from the Weather Service. That's from the...
And again, keep in mind, Rabin County is in a higher elevation than a lot of our upstate areas, so that's why we've seen some of the heavier snow, but also
that's why they're in the warning.
And just because they're farther to the east, or west rather, as we watch Macon County too here stay under that winter storm warning. Be interesting to get some totals out of them. But still, we're looking right now, I believe this is Falls Park, as folks are still walking around. Brave there, go get some coffee maybe, because it is It is snowing, but what a cool time to go walk around Falls Park because it's not icy. If you can tolerate the general wetness out there, it is absolutely beautiful. I think we're going to get some amazing pictures. 32 degrees. And again, 32 degrees when you're sitting right there. That's basically the melting point. We're not looking at things flash freeze at 32, but as we start to get below 32, that's when some issues can arise. But the good news is the time of day this is happening. Still get radiation from the sun through those clouds. So that is going to keep the roads good. We have had these kind of events many, many times. And from experience, I know for a fact you can even have temperatures at 31 and 30. If it's in the middle, if it's during the day when the sun's at the highest angle, you're likely not going to see a lot of freeze over, especially on these surfaces that are basically on the ground. Now you get an elevated surface like a bridge or overpass, there could be a slick area. And we've had some accidents in Oconee County because of that. But I want to take a look though, again, at all the folks walking around at picturesque Falls Park this afternoon as we continue this snow coverage. So again, we've got the back edge of the snow that's going to be rapidly moving through. It's already starting to clear parts of the mountains. We are, I'd say, about 2/3 done with the event, maybe a little bit more for our western counties that have already seen so much snow. We're getting to about a quarter of the way through for Greenville and Spartanburg, and it's going to continue. But notice, again, our algorithm that really puts out the green color, the blue color, it is really trying to produce mainly rain south of I-85. While we are actually seeing more than just rain, we are getting snow and sleet in the mix down there. But the models have been showing into the early afternoon that a lot of this will turn to rain even in Greenville and Spartanburg. I think with temperatures like they are now, that's going to be a tough prospect to achieve. So good news for the kids. I think you've still got a couple hours of snow ahead of you around Greenville and Spartanburg. Anderson, same thing, even though I do think that maybe some sleet pellets or raindrops may be beginning to mix in here shortly as we're starting to see some of those pinks take over. Temperatures right now above freezing in Anderson, right at freezing in Greenville, 34 for Spartanburg, 31 for Asheville and Clemson. So slightly below freezing in some areas, but this is not going to be something that causes widespread freezing over. But that means that we could see a patch of ice somewhere on those bridges and overpasses. And Ben, I know you've got some more to add to that too.
Yeah, you took the words right out of my mouth. But yeah, like the issues we've had have been primarily on bridges in those western counties like Oconee and Pickens for the most part. Even Anderson, I wouldn't rule that out. Viewers commenting on Facebook on our live stream that there is still a little bit of snow. There's still some snow falling in Anderson, one of the rare beneficiaries of some snow this afternoon. A lot of areas that normally don't get snow during a typical winter storm are getting it, including even some in Lawrence, Greenwood, parts of the area anyway, getting some different reports. I mean, it might be one of those things where you, it's really dependent on what part of town you're in. So as you can see, temperatures have gone down over the past few minutes, given the fact that the snow has been falling. Upper 20s, low 30s. We've had a couple of snow reports in the mountains, Transylvania County, part of that area, around an inch so far. But again, the highest totals so far have been in Raven County, Georgia, just west of the town of Tiger, reaching about 4 inches, which that falls right in line with our winter storm warning, which is in effect for Macon and Raven counties. We want to go now to our photographer, Edwin, who is out on the field monitoring this snow. He is still live in Walhalla. Tell me, Edwin, what you're seeing.
Yeah, right now it's still coming down, Ben. I'm seeing probably like 2 inches of snow right now. The roads they're still pretty safe to drive on, but people are taking it safe and driving slow. The sidewalks are completely covered in snow right now, and not too many people walking out. Everybody's just been driving out here. So yeah, I'm gonna give you a shot of the sidewalks right now.
Okay, yep, they're completely covered. Yeah, definitely an upgrade from when we last talked to you. And Edwin,
the snow has continued. Yeah.
Yeah, I was just curious if you've heard anything. Have you run into anyone around town who has, been alerted of any car accidents or anything like that? We've seen a slight uptick in accidents around Oconee County. I wasn't sure what traffic issues were like in the city of Walhalla, if you had that knowledge, but just asking out of curiosity.
I have no knowledge, but right now where I'm at right here on South Main Street, I haven't seen any accidents or anything like that. I have seen a couple deputy vehicles drive by, but other than that, that's about it.
Okay, thank you so much for your report, Edwin. Stay warm out there, stay safe, and you keep doing the good work that you're doing. But as you can see, cars taking it slow. Not nobody on the road, but as you can see, a little bit of slush building up there, especially in that left lane. Looks like folks are sticking more toward the right lane. Smart advice, definitely, but they are taking it slow, and a lot of people are still at home. So there is a look at where our temperatures sit right now. We're down a couple of degrees, or I should say down from about 35, 36 from about a couple hours ago to 32 degrees. So we are riding a very fine line between liquid on the surface and solid. So as you can see, we're still a little ways away from getting a complete freeze over. Usually in situations like this in broad daylight, it's pretty much rare to unheard of to have something switch completely to ice. As you can see, the concrete is wet up in Falls Park. This is in downtown Greenville, just outside of Passerelle Bistro. There's the Liberty Bridge there. And I mean, we might see some slick spots on bridges. So keep that in mind. A lot of our issues have been from bridges and overpasses in places like Pickens and Oconee County. So that's where likely a lot of our accidents are. We'll have more details on that once we get more information, but we have noticed a slight increase in the number of accidents being reported in Oconee County. And if we can bring up the radar again, Isaac, when you get a chance. Temperatures, here's where they are right now, a little warmer farther to the south. So the flakes might be flying in places like Lawrence and Greenwood. That's where temperatures are at around 40 degrees. So pretty rare that we'll see any issues down there, but the snow is falling. But farther north here in Greenville, as you can see, some pretty steady snowfall rates still happening here. That live shot in downtown Greenville definitely showed things lightening up a bit. But farther to the west, though, south toward West Pelzer into Anderson, I-85 in Anderson County looking pretty snowy. Here's also another batch of where some of the heaviest snow is falling. Still toward Clemson. I know we saw near whiteout conditions in some of our live shots, but Oconee County, west toward Walhalla, you are almost done with your snow. So this lasted for about what probably ended up being about 3 hours or so, and that's probably what it's going to be for everybody across the area. So we're probably on hour 2 of 3, starting on hour 2 of 3 here in Greenville and areas west. And Spartanburg, you're also experiencing some snow a little later on the onset, but safe to say most, if not all, along the 85 corridor. So folks in Gaffney, safe bet is at this point, I'm thinking that you're probably going to be more on the snow side of things. The farther south you go towards, say, like Union and Newberry, it might not be quite as much of a guarantee, but as you can see, Whitmire, Newberry, I know I had a couple of viewers in Union and Newberry County missing out on the snow. You still have a fighting chance, but the farther east you live, you had more time to warm up today. So if you live in, say, like Gaffney or south toward Union, I think Gaffney, you're going to be fine. You're going to be far enough north to where you're going to have a good chance of getting snow. But in places farther east and south, you're going to be on the wrong sector of the system just because you had a chance to warm up to around 40 degrees, which is what we are expecting according to our forecast computer models. That's where most people would have been before the onset of the system. But we got colder overnight, and then our forecast pretty much had to be remade. This is a live look outside the station from our tower cam. Yep, we've got some reduced visibility, snow falling at a pretty steady rate, some pretty light traffic on the interstate, which is what we'd like to see. This is I-85 just off of exit 54 here, just outside the station. So steady snow falling, not seeing any accumulations quite yet on grassy surfaces. Maybe if we looked a little bit, but yeah, I guess we might be seeing a little bit right there, but that's pretty much the view. As you can see, steady snow falling, accumulations yet to be seen here outside the station. That is not the case though in Walhalla. This is a live look back there. We just talked to Edwin, who is there and reporting what he's saying. Let's see a few footprints, but he said about 2 inches of snow, in case you didn't catch that. 2 inches is the sort of eye estimate as he has been standing there in the snow for the past few hours. Some very light traffic on South Main Street, some slushy roads being seen also, and cars still going on them, but still going slow. So luckily, the scene is definitely not chaotic, so that's always good to hear. We've noticed a few accidents being reported on our CAD system in Oconee County. Don't know if they're in Walhalla or not, but just want to let you know that they're there. Here's the current satellite and radar. Notice the snow is stretching farther south than you usually see it. We've had the upper atmosphere very, very cold, below freezing, pretty much everything above 1,000 feet above us. Yeah, do you have an update?
Mic is still on, mic 5. Thank you. This is just in. The Weather Service, as you expected, Ben, has expanded the winter weather advisory to include all of Greenville County now, as well as Anderson and Hart counties. And it looks like they've also, for fun measures, Madison, Yancey, and Mitchell counties have been added as well.
Okay, there you have it, just into the newsroom. An extension of the winter weather advisory into all of Greenville and all of Anderson and all of Hart County. So basically one row of counties farther south, south of I-85. So all of Greenville, all of Anderson, all of Hart County in northeast Georgia. So that's a new row of counties. If you subscribe to our push alerts, we are currently pushing this out. I assume the expiration time is still 7 p.m. One would think anyway. But yeah, all these in effect until 7 p.m. Safe to say most winter weather will be well done by then. I'm thinking 2, 3, 4 o'clock time frame, depending on where you live, west to east. That's going to be when things are going to wrap up. So luckily, this thing's moving pretty quickly across the area. And the next thing, if we're looking ahead, would be a potential refreeze during the overnight hours into early tomorrow morning, which we'll get a chance to forecast because eventually we'll wrap up our coverage on this so we can get a chance to get our bearings straight, and we can look in detail on the afternoon forecast in terms of what overnight brings. So precipitation is going to be over, but refreeze could be an issue.
Yeah, I do. I agree. Is my mic okay? There
Yes,
we go.
there we go.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. It's all about when all of this can get out, how much we can see at least a lot of the moisture drain off the roads. I think tomorrow morning, especially bridges and overpasses, will be something to watch in these areas that got so much in the way of snow throughout the day. But I do think that, like Isaac said, we're not going to have the opportunity to warm up a whole lot from all this. But right behind you there, you can really see Falls Park not as
frolicking out there.
Yeah, not quite as busy as maybe a normal Saturday, but the few that are out there probably getting some pretty amazing pictures.
Hey, yeah, I mean, as I was saying earlier during our coverage, I mean, for some kids around the area, this could very well be your first snow ever. I mean, especially if you live farther south of, say, Greenville, like into Anderson, Lawrence, it's very rare for you to get snow. Like if you take our average winter-type storm, which this is not, by the way, usually you end up on the rain side of things than the snow side of things. Greenville, we're always stuck in the awkward middle as we usually are. But as you can see, folks enjoying their time in Falls Park, some wet stairwells, but as you can see, grassy surfaces are snow covered. Really not much more. You can still see little patches of grass in some of that snow cover. But as you can see, folks enjoying their morning, maybe just wrapping up some breakfast there at Passerelle Bistro, which as you can see, the bridge also, nope, no accumulation there, just a wet pavement, which is what we were expecting. But as we've been saying, the temperature has been really, really close to that freezing point, which again, in these situations, the temperature can be so close. Like I remember there have been overnights where we have sweated bullets from monitoring the temperature. We might be at a temperature of 32, a dew point of 31, but the thing is, as Kendra was saying earlier, the 32 degree mark is the technical melting point. So it's really not until you get to around like 31.9 degrees when things start to freeze, or and sometimes this temperature that displays that sometimes can be rounded, so you just don't know. But
yeah, and it can be really tricky when it comes to those when we see problems during the day, because like we were talking about, radiation from the sun during the day helps us a little bit, even though I know it sounds crazy because it's cloudy, but you still have some of that comes through. So there will likely be enough to help maybe melt away a little bit of what's on the grass and whatnot. But by tomorrow, our high tomorrow expected to be in the mid-50s, maybe approaching 60.
I was going to say, yesterday I had 58 for tomorrow. We'll see how that stacks up. Now, the interesting thing is here how this forecast is going to change, and the interesting thing on the models is that typically when you have snow cover in certain areas, that will oftentimes skew your forecast temperatures lower. We often experience that back in the Midwest. When you have a fresh pack of snow, you always need to forecast several degrees cooler than models. But snow cover probably not going to be a big issue here at GSP, but if I were forecasting for, say, Clemson, Oconee County, temperature is going to be a good deal colder tomorrow. But granted, you're still going to be able to melt the snow away. It's not going to be that bad. But
no,
temperatures,
it'll just be those first couple hours in the morning that we'll really have to keep a close eye out. But again, we're happy to see that this is not going to be a long-lived event. I know the kids would probably like for it to last a little longer, but you're getting a good dose of playtime for sure in the Greenville area as the snow keeps coming down. I'll be curious. I may pop outside in a minute. One of us will go take a look at what it's like outside our station. In fact, we may still have a live camera coming right outside our weather deck.
Yeah.
But again, snow is still falling in Greenville, and we still have.
Look at around Greenwood. I mean, that goes to show. I mean, we've seen some of that bright banding throughout the afternoon. So sometimes when the beam shoots above, the particles and moisture near the surface sometimes can be really hard to detect. So
Oh, yeah.
that's why I think we're getting such
That's our gray
diverse-
area right there. Yeah.
That's why we're getting such diverse reports from folks in Greenwood. But it's nice to know that, those of you in Greenwood who rarely see snow, like our winter weather systems, typically Greenwood is all but a guarantee to be on the rain side of things.
Yeah, in this case, I mean, they may be, at least getting some mixed with rain. And it's interesting to see, too, and again, we call it the algorithm, but, oh, hold on just a second. Okay, we have somebody in downtown Greenville, in fact, we can talk to. So, Ben, take it away.
Yeah.
Talk to Mateo.
Yeah, we're live on the air right now with our photographer, Mateo Rodriguez. Mateo, how are things down in Falls Park? Are people loving the snow? It certainly looks like some are having a good time.
Oh yeah, people are. Hey Ben, people are having lots of fun, as you can see. People are out here throwing snowballs, making snowballs. I don't know how. There's not much snow on the ground.
Oh, they're
but
scraping it up.
They're managing
they're finding
make
it.
some snowballs out here.
I mean, pretty much when it snows like
Yeah.
this, you have to take
But
what you
yeah,
can
lots
get.
of families out here having lots of fun. Lots of smiling faces. It's a good time over here.
That's good. That's good. And yeah, it looks like some folks out there with umbrellas as we're looking out onto the Liberty Bridge. Is it still snowing? Because it looks like, based on your live shot there, that there's not much snow falling at all.
It's not snowing as much as a few minutes earlier, but it's still coming down a little bit. People are still out here enjoying it. It's definitely when it hits the concrete, it's definitely melting. We have some Greenville officials out here just salting the roads, salting the walkways, just to keep people safe out here.
And is that just like business owners, or are these like city officials that are doing that?
These are city officials. They're I don't know if you can see, they're like in a Greenville.
Oh, sure, yeah.
Greenville golf cart right here, and they just got buckets of I'm guessing salt. And they're just salting the walkways, salting the stairs, make sure everybody's having fun, but still being safe.
All right, awesome. Thank you so much, Mateo. You keep doing your great work. Stay safe, and we'll see you a little bit later on.
Yeah, and it's interesting to hear his perspective out there, that it is starting to lighten up just a little bit, and that's going to be, again, the case over the next couple hours. We're going to get those fat flakes for a while, but it's not going to have much juice to run on for much longer, too.
Yeah, I mean, one thing that's going to happen is moisture is going to be sparse eventually. Like, this is not your classic, Gulf system that often results in, feet of snow in the mountains and multiple inches here across a lot of the upstate, mainly the 85 corridor. As we this is Traveler's Rest. As you can see, we had some decent snow rates over the past few minutes, but as you can see, the snow is lightened up there as well. Grassy surfaces starting to get covered, though. As you can see, the parkways there are displaying some snow on the grass and the bushes, the trees, things like that. But as you can see, the roadways still just wet, not snow covered. Not the case though in Walhalla. This has been one of our snowiest places, as expected. I mean, outside of the high elevations of the mountains, this has been one of our snowiest spots, the westernmost location. Some slush on the roads, cars still out there, but taking it slow, and things don't seem to be too terribly chaotic. So that's good news. We've had a few extra accident reports, and Kendra's got an update for us here this afternoon.
Well, again, we're continuing to see comments on Facebook talking about what we're seeing out there. And again, most people are getting a good steady snow. We're getting a lot of pictures, but we're continuing to see the potential for some of that to mix with sleet as we go forward. But the heavier snow is still falling for spots like Greenville over toward Easley and Anderson, but we're going to continue to see the cutoff of that a little bit farther to the south. So as we take a look at Greenville and Spartanburg, it is still mostly snow, but you're seeing some peaks there.
And that would make sense, because we're starting to upper atmosphere is starting to warm a little bit, one would think.
Yeah, and as the day wears on, we'll continue to see that trend as we move forward in time. So again, as we watch this snow move through the upstate, we're going to see the rain pick up a bit in the southern part of the upstate, northeast Georgia. We're going to see that trend start to go down to, we're seeing the back edge finally get over toward Rabun County over the next couple of minutes. I think a lot of that snow is going to begin to wind down in areas in northeast Georgia and over toward Oconee County. Now, notice that we still have some of those darker blues showing up in Pickens. That's where we've had a couple of incidents on the roads. We've had the accident reported in Central on a bridge. That's where, again, we may have some slippery areas. Anywhere that's elevated off the ground, That's where we may have a few frozen spots. But otherwise, this is a pretty ideal setup to actually get snow to fall across the upstate because of the fact that it's during the day. Temperatures are at freezing or above in most spots, so we're not seeing widespread issues. But look at this. We're right at freezing for Greenville and Spartanburg. This does not mean we're going to see frozen roadways just yet, but we certainly will have that potential later on tonight in icy spots on bridges and overpasses if we can't get all of this to dry up. Looking right now at GSP, this is on the east side of Greenville toward Greer. We've got 34 degrees, a dew point of 25, and usually we see this number go up a bit more. It's actually stayed down more than I thought it would, but it will start to rise, and as that number rises, the temperature will fall. So we may see temperatures go down to about 33, 32 in areas around Greer. 36 right now in Gaffney, 40 in Union. So we're above freezing there, but notice as that shield of snow moves across the upstate, it will likely help those temperatures to drop as well. But we're going to continue to see some of that snow even advance in on Spartanburg soon. We haven't had as many pictures out of Spartanburg, but we've definitely seen indications on radar that it is starting to take over. For you in Greenville, it is 32. Again, continuing to see the snow come down with no issues so far on the roadways. But as you go over toward Pickens and Oconee counties, that's where we have snow covering parts of the roads. All right, here is a really crazy picture out of Liberty, which of course is in Pickens County, where we had intense flooding. Look at that. And then you compare that from Thursday to today. And here we have snow covering all of these surfaces. So huge difference. Talk about some crazy weather that we've had. And the flooding we expected. That was something that we had a moderate risk for a couple of days in advance. We knew the flooding was coming. This snow situation is something that really developed in the last 24 hours that we've seen the models start to get colder. So you can see in Pickens County, there's a pretty big coating of snow on the ground, and it's going to continue to be there into tonight and early tomorrow before it can all melt away. So crazy pictures, and thank you so much for sending us that comparison there. It's good to see kind of what all of our area is seeing. We don't like to see this picture, that's for sure. I think a lot of kids are happy to see this one, though. And hoping your area is not experiencing too bad of conditions when it comes to driving. Everything we've seen out there indicates that the roads are mostly wet. Should not have many frozen spots on the roads. We are watching Clemson, though. Elevated surfaces like bridges and overpasses could potentially get icy. And a lot of times you'll see that warning as you're coming up on a bridge. So here is Clemson. And notice, again, the actual walkways and stuff here, they're warm. So when the snow hit, it melted. And we're not seeing it flash freeze. It's not cold enough for that. But we are seeing elevated surfaces well, I guess you'd call grass an elevated surface when the snow sits on the grass. That's where it's collecting the most, on grassy spots, like right off of Interstate I-85 or I-85 right at mile marker 24, closer to Anderson. So we're seeing these issues from Clemson over toward Anderson, and then even in the Greenville area, lightly accumulating on those elevated surfaces. But we're going to see this trend wind down over the next couple of hours. There are those folks walking around in Greenville as the light snow is coming down. And as Ben noted earlier, it's certainly not as heavy as it once was. We're not seeing those big fat flakes anymore. It wouldn't surprise me to have a few sleet pellets mixed in there with some of that snow. But temperatures are absolutely cold enough for basically full-blown snow, but moisture is starting to get a little bit zapped. We still have some dry air in place, so that's why in some of these areas like Greenville, we're not seeing it come down so heavily. But there we go on the bridge here. That's where I would worry potentially about a slippery area, so be very careful. This is a look in TR. As it's still wet out there on the roads. Snow is not coming down all that heavily, nothing to be too alarmed about, but look at how it's accumulated on the grass and some of those bushes there. Indications of around an inch of accumulation so far for spots in eastern Pickens and over there in Travelers Rest. And then we have some more pics to share. Where is this one from? This is from Lawrence County. So we're finally starting to get some snow. We probably had it for a little while. We just haven't had as many pictures out of Lawrence. So you can see what's also coming down there in Lawrence County. Nothing on the ground so far. And really, that'll be more of the trend as we head toward the east, as we go toward the east and south. Lawrence County, Spartanburg County, Cherokee, Union counties. Rock Branch in Elbert County. Now, this is farther to the west in northeast Georgia. We've had the opportunity for some of that snow to accumulate on those elevated surfaces. Look at this, Rock Branch there, and looks like we've got some little birds walking around in the background enjoying some of the snow. But again, elevated surfaces like branches, or excuse me, grass. And this is from Taylor's, where we have our Fox vehicle covered in the snow. This may have to be one of our new backgrounds. I really like that. Again, we've got about an inch of, or about a half inch of accumulation, as it looks like there on the car. And you can see it's coated on the windshield there too. And with temperatures like they are right now, it's mainly a slush. It's not freezing over to the point where you can't open up your cars or anything like that. But with temperatures right at freezing, you're going to get that melting that occurs when it hits the ground. If you get 31, 30, that's when we could see some problems. And we're seeing that in Clemson at 31 degrees. We're monitoring conditions very closely in Pickens County. Have not had massive numbers of accidents, but there have been some incidents out there because of the fact that we have this snow coming down. And the snow shield is continuing to push off toward the east. I'm going to pull up the radar so we can see exactly where some of this is falling. But we've seen basically the heavier snow start to push off toward the east of areas in Oconee County, in Pickens County, and start to move toward Greenville. So notice an end is in sight back there. We've already cleared some of our mountain counties. This system is a quick mover, and we're going to keep seeing that over the next couple of hours. So this is lasting longer than expected. This is something that really kind of developed over the last 12 hours when it comes to the forecast. So there's our back edge of the snow. So you'll be done with it here soon in Rabun County, but in those higher elevations, they've seen 4 inches of snow already. In northeast Georgia, we've had accumulations anywhere from 2 inches and a plus on some of those elevated surfaces. And then Oconee County, same thing. So again, only a little while longer that snow is going to last, most likely for the next 30 to 40 minutes. Winding down after around 1 o'clock. And then we go toward Greenville and Spartanburg. We'll be seeing this at least for the next couple of hours, but it's been a lot lighter in these areas. And one of the reasons that it seems to be that way is the air is a bit drier, so we're not seeing as fat of flakes, as wet of snow, but it is still coming down, and we'll have that potential for possibly some elevated surfaces getting icy, but during the day, that is going to be very, very difficult to achieve. It's going to be late tonight, early tomorrow morning that there will be the chance of that. And that's the thing. We've got to see how quickly all this moisture gets out of here and how fast the temperatures fall. It does not appear we're going to be looking at temperatures just plummeting tonight. There's really no reason that they would just drop like a rock into the low 20s, but they certainly could drop into the upper 20s later tonight, and that could cause some isolated issues. So 34 degrees right now at GSP International Airport, mid-20 dew point. So don't like to see that, but models actually kind of showed that where temperatures were going to stay steady despite the fact that the dew point is a bit lower. Usually you see these numbers come together, like this number falls, this one goes up, and they kind of meet in the middle. But instead, we're looking at potentially some little bit of warming happening with that southwest westerly breeze and at times south breeze, and also the fact we're getting just a little bit of radiation down from above, even though I know the sun is not out, but that can come through the clouds and actually help to warm up surfaces just a bit. So it's causing more melting to happen as a lot of this hits the ground. So again, this is a situation where it's mostly a novelty snow, but we are watching it closely for any issues on our roadways. We have a bunch of live looks. In fact, I see one out of the corner of my eye on our big Plaz shot. I'm not sure exactly where that is, but wherever we want to go. Yeah, where exactly is this again? Okay, this is TR, and it does appear that the snow rates may have picked up just a bit, and that's really as the heart of this event is hitting areas in Greenville now, or getting close, as we're starting to get some more steady snowfall. So you can see there, you can see that we've got the elevated surfaces gathering up some of that snow right there on things like your benches and bridges and overpasses. So you can continue to see that roads are wet. That's a big drive home point at this juncture. I think we're also about to go to Walhalla, Ben.
And an addendum to that traveler's rest report. We just got a report.
Okay, sorry, we're having a little bit of mic issue there with Ben. There
so,
we go.
Yeah,
now we're back
on now. So, but we just got a report. This is from one of our emergency managers here in Greenville County. One of their employees is reporting that snow is sticking to the roads on Paris Mountain. Says it's getting slushy and slick. So those higher elevations are starting to experience a little bit of that snow sticking. So obviously that's a little higher up. Travelers Rest isn't quite into the mountains, but as we've already discussed, this is a live look in Walhalla. As you can see, snow certainly not letting up just yet, but luckily they are starting to get into the home stretch of this. Probably a half hour, 45 minutes more of falling snow, and that's probably going to about do it. So just be careful. We keep getting reports of some slick bridges and overpasses across some areas. Walhalla, definitely one of our heavily snowed in places. As you can see, slushy roads for sure. Folks taking it extra slow. Are also starting to get some snowfall reports. We've had some reports in and around, we've actually had a report of, wow, 2 inches of snow in Elbert County, Georgia, just 2 miles southeast of Newburgh. So almost all of this, like almost the whole area will end up seeing snow today. I even got a viewer comment, which doesn't, I mean, it's just a viewer comment, but either way, saying it's snowing in Lockhart, which I believe is Union County. So yeah, even those easternmost places that, you know, managed to get close to 40 degrees. I believe when I was looking at that, a temperature in Union, I believe was 39 or 40 degrees. So, but that just goes to show, I mean, looking at the atmospheric sounding forecast yesterday, like it was unbelievable, like how cold the upper layers were. Like it was just the surface and only the surface that was above freezing. And we're barely hanging on by a thread to that right now. This is live outside of our station. As you can see, snow steadily falling, starting to show up and accumulate on the leaves, but not really on any cement surfaces as of now. We also had some accumulation on the cars, about a ½ inch if I were to eyeball it, but that's live outside of our station. Really just a beautiful sight. But as I just said, we just got a report that some roads are starting to get a bit slushy around Paris Mountain, which again would make sense. I mean, the elevation's a little higher. I mean, that doesn't necessarily correlate with TR. It's not just how far north or south you are. This part of the country, it's about elevation as well. So Paris Mountain, be a little extra careful in that area.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, higher elevations will be more prone to some of those issues on the roadways just because it is colder up there. That winter weather advisory now expanded to the city of Greenville. We're looking live right now on the east side of Greenville. This road, not a lot of people on the roads. That's one great thing about it happening on a Saturday, is that we don't have as many people out and about on roadways. Hopefully you're able to hunker down. Maybe you've got us on through the Fox Carolina News app, just watching our coverage as the kids play in the snow a bit, or maybe you're just kind of hanging out, getting some things done around the house. It's a good day to do it. This is not an event where you need to run and get the bread and milk. This is going to be a very short-lived event. We're going to be done with it toward 3, 4 o'clock today as most of the moisture moves out. In fact, far western areas will be done within the next hour of the snow. And it should remain okay on the roads as we go through the next several hours. Overnight, that's when we'll have to watch out for a few isolated icy areas. But other than that, this is just one of those novelty events during the day, so you can let the kids get out and play. And Ben mentioned some viewer comments. We appreciate that so much. That is crucial right now because there is no way for us to know exactly what's happening in Greenwood or Newberry or Union, because our radar is picking up on mostly snow, but starting to show some rain. And we want to know if you are getting snow. So it sounds like even Lockhart is getting in on some snow right now. And you can, and actually, you know what? The radar really does show that. I mean, it shows Cherokee County, Union County getting in on some snow. But also watch this radar trend. Moisture starting to break up in the mountains. We're starting to see a little bit of that in the upstate, and the back end is pushing in. So we are going to start to see a slow winding down of the snow. So sorry, kids. Oh, so sorry, especially to couple particular girls. My daughter Stella, and of course Sydney Snow Gagnon. Her middle name is Snow because she loves it so much. So I'm hoping she's out there playing in it right now. Joe Gagnon's daughter. 39 degrees. See, look at this. Terrible.
The temperatures,
Don't look at these temperatures. Just look at the radar trend here because it's actually doing a good job with what snow is falling. But it shows how the moisture really completely gets out of here by around 4 o'clock, 6 o'clock in the evening. That's when we'll see clearing skies, still some lingering snow showers in western North Carolina. There's 3, here's 6. And then later on, we'll work on that temperature forecast. I'll say, though, with the Okay, it appears we're going to be going back on Fox Carolina around halftime, so we may be kind of stopping and restarting here as we're on. Okay, there's about how much? 1 second left? Okay. Oh, gotcha. Okay, yeah, I'm kind of keeping tabs of the game over there. We're really appreciating you sticking with us, Facebook Live. And during halftime, we're going to be going on live to bring updates on Fox Carolina. But I know a lot of folks are watching this big rivalry game on Fox Carolina, Michigan and Michigan State, where they're used to snow. Here, it is not so much.
It's just a Tuesday for them.
Yeah, that's no big deal. They'd just be going about their daily lives. But this is a big deal in the South to get snow. And we're very happy that there are positive things about this, the snow that the kids can enjoy, and that we're not seeing massive numbers of issues on the roadways. Right now, we've only had Pickens, Oconee counties reporting many in the way of incidents that appear to be related to the weather. And there are probably incidents all over, but we have not seen them spike up because of this event, and we're very, very happy about that. We're going to keep watching the CAD, as I was talking to, as Ben has been watching too, to see how accidents have gone up. I know, and you mentioned in, I think it was Oconee County, they went up from 3 to 4 accidents to close to 10 accidents, which is not insane, but it does show that the weather is impacting some of those counties in an adverse way. I think we take a live look in Falls Park right now, and it looks like the game has wrapped up. So let me know when we are going on Fox, but we do have a live look there as folks are walking around, and I love the little pink hoodie jackets there. The girls keeping warm as snow continues to come down in Greenville. It has coated those grassy surfaces. It is just wet out there otherwise, so we're not seeing issues. And I keep repeating this, but it can be scary when you see this much snow coming down. You're wondering how the roads are doing, and right now no indication that we're seeing any problems on our roads. We're going to pause for just a second as we're going to be going live. All right, here we are. We are back, and they're cleaning off the lens as the snow continues to come down. Walhalla, one of the hardest hit areas when it comes to snowfall. And cars still moving along on the roads okay, but there is a pretty good slush out there on Oconee County roads, Pickens County roads, as we don't have any official measurements, but what looks to be about 2 to 3 inches of snow in some areas. So a winter weather advisory has been issued now for Greenville County as well as Anderson County, and that's going to be the main affected spots as we head into the next couple of hours. By the way, we are on Fox Carolina right now. This is Chief Meteorologist Kendra Ken alongside meteorologist Ben Dorenbach. We're at halftime of the Michigan State game. We will go back to regular programming once the basketball game gets back and commences again into the second half. But right now we have crews all across our area. We are looking in Oconee County, Greenville County, and also toward Clemson. You can see Falls Park there right in the middle as folks seem to be out enjoying this weather. And, Ben, we've had snow-covered roads in some areas of Oconee County, and that's one of the reasons we have that winter weather advisory. And as a precaution, since we've had all of that happen, Greenville County now included all of you in Greenville in that winter weather advisory, since we could have some isolated slippery areas on the roads and amounts of snow have actually gone up, the forecast for how much we could see. And still, this is a very nowcasting situation, but at this point, it looks like we could end up with at least an inch or two of accumulation on the grass in Greenville.
In the grass, yes, and a dusting on the roads, definitely not out of the question now. That's part of the reason why National Weather Service did decide to expand that advisory into all Greenville County, Anderson, and Hart. I also want to point out, you might see Madison, Yancey, and Mitchell counties highlighted there. They also have a winter weather advisory, and it's related to lingering snowfall on the back side of the system. If you noticed on Futurecast a little while ago, if you were streaming us on Facebook, that there will be some leftover snow showers along the Tennessee line tonight. That's what that advisory is related to. So we're not going to focus on that right now. We have had a few reports up in the mountains as well of some light snow, but the more interesting thing about what we're seeing right now is the rarity of this much of the upstate receiving snow, and that is really something to see at places like Anderson, Lawrence, even a viewer in Lockhart saying it was snowing there. So even areas south of 85, for some kids, this is their first snow that they've ever seen. So pretty special. But we also want to urge everyone in these purple and pink shaded areas to use an extra caution on the road. We've seen some slushy roads in our live shot in Walhalla a little bit ago, and Pickens County, that's another place that is going to have some slush on the roads. Even getting a recent report around Paris Mountain in Greenville County, that is also getting a little bit slushy. So higher elevations, bridges and overpasses, those are areas where things could get a bit slick. Not just now, but likely overnight tonight, as temperatures are very close to freezing right now. We're slightly above it, but we're going to likely fall below that here throughout the night. We'll get to that forecast as we plan our afternoon forecast. But winter weather advisory in effect until 7 p.m. in the purple shaded counties, Yancey, Mitchell, and Madison counties. That is in effect until midnight tonight, concerning some later snow this evening. So that is the latest on our current alerts. If we get a chance to view the radar, we can show you where some of the heaviest snow is. And as you can see, it's pretty steady snow area wide. As you can see, we're starting to wrap up the snowfall in places like Rabun County, a place that recorded about 4 inches of snow. That'd be one of those higher elevation places, and that's why those two counties, Macon and Rabun counties, were under a winter storm warning where the higher accumulations were expected. And farther east, as you can see, steady snowfall still falling in and around Clemson. As you can see, a little heavier those you head farther toward the Georgia-South Carolina line, Stevens and Franklin. That area just north of 85 could be a bit dicey on the roads. We've viewed various sky cams this afternoon, this morning and afternoon for that matter, that have gone really low on the visibility scale. So these are causing not only some visibility issues, but also some slushiness. So some roads could get slick. We've also had a lot of reports on our National Weather Service chat that things have gotten slick on bridges and overpasses, mainly in the Pickens and Oconee County areas.
Yeah, and it appears to Paris Mountain as well. And National Weather Service emphasizing just how much this event has continued to alter and change over time. So just for the public to stay aware of the fact that, we have snow coming down. It's not going to last all day, but certainly could have some impacts for us. But again, the greatest threat right now is going to be just people driving and seeing reduced visibility because of the snow. And take a look, this is a 3-hour loop, and you can see how the snow has really taken over in Greenville and Spartanburg over the last hour and a half. And I'd say at least another hour of activity before this starts to wind down, Ben.
Yeah, I would say we're in our final about couple hours of this event. So what's going to happen is we're going to start to see some drier air intrude from the northwest, and that's going to help break apart some of this activity as we've seen on our recent computer models, which aren't doing the best at, say, picking up the precipitation. But hey, you know what? Neither is radar. So it's one of those where we really rely on viewer comments. So I think we're starting to get a better idea of the timing of the system, and it should be wrapping up in the next couple of hours. But in the meantime, it's one of those, have a good time, be safe out, and it's a novelty. It's fun. But some light accumulations are a better possibility now in greater Greenville County.
All right. And, again, we continue to track all this. Take a live look in Falls Park as we continue to see wet conditions, but not icy conditions. And that's the good news that we're going to continue to see across the area, mostly just wet spots where you're walking through. You're not going to have to deal with frozen areas when it comes to spots on roads, bridges, overpasses. Will be a little bit more susceptible to all of that. But you can see here in the shot, this tells the story where you're going to have elevated areas with the snow that it actually starts to accumulate around the grassy spots, bridges, decks. So if you get the kids out to play in any of this, which I'm sure they're dying to do, let them, but just be very careful on those raised spots, even though I don't anticipate any major iciness. And the good news is that we do have in Walhalla roads that appear to be very passable, but notice on the side of the road, the snow has gathered. That's where we have the accumulations. That's where we'll be measuring those accumulations, and we'll bring you those later on today as we wrap up this event. But would not surprise me for spots like Walhalla to end up with about 3 total inches of snow by the time this is all said and done. But again, cars moving by okay, not having any major reports of problems on roads, even though we are having some spots on bridges and overpasses that can become icy, and some have, at least slushy, and that's enough where it can make it slick. Hey, we have issues sometimes driving just in the rain around here, so this is going to be a hazard on the roads. You've got to take it slow, but this doesn't mean you have to stay homebound all day long. Here's another look at Clemson University. I mean, just blanketed in snow. And this is the last of it as it looks now. I'm kind of looking out of the corner of my eye at the amount of snow we're dealing with, and the back edge is approaching the upstate, so we will start to see a drying trend in many areas. But Clemson has certainly seen the snow come down for the last 2 to even 3 hours. It was getting going right around 10 o'clock this morning, and we're getting past the 1 o'clock hour. So we want folks to take it slow and know that there could be some dicey areas on roads. This is outside of our station, Fox Carolina News, located at Pelham and I-85. Not a whole lot of accumulating snow on the side there, but you can see on top of the bushes and around the trees, we've had some accumulating areas. 85 looking just fine, just wet right now, but there will be some concern late tonight into the early morning hours tomorrow that there could be some refreeze on the roads as temperatures do go to close to freezing, if not slightly below, as we go into the late night hours. Here are some pictures that we've received. I believe this is Lawrence County, if I remember. Actually, this is our first picture we're showing in Greenwood, and we are finally seeing some of those flakes fly. Nothing coating the grass yet, but certainly a possibility over the next couple of hours as this moisture moves on through. Another picture of Greenwood County as the flakes are flying. Again, roads doing okay. Temperatures in Greenwood are in the mid-30s, so that's a comfortable place to be for now. And there's another look, Lawrence Road in Malden, as drivers are trying to get their Saturday errands done and, well, having to deal with some snow while they do it. But this is one of those situations, again, where we're not dealing with any major dangers on the road. Lawrence Road in Malden still, where you can get out and about in this, but you've got to be extra careful. Here is Simpsonville with that accumulation on the side of the road there and some flakes flying currently. If your kids want to get out and play in this, it is definitely safe to do so. But if you need to go out and travel, take your kids to do anything, maybe go to the grocery store, just be safe while you do it. This is Simpsonville as well. So hitting the roads, take it slowly. This is the advice from us and from National Weather Service that we're not looking at epic issues on roadways or anything like that, but we are certainly concerned because we're at freezing for Greenville and Spartanburg, 31 in Clemson, but the snow is going to start to wind down from west to east. So we're seeing our last few minutes of snow in Oconee County before it's going to start to wind down, and then that's all going to be pushing off toward the east. Now let's get another shot at Falls Park. Just beautiful as folks are walking across the bridge there. And remember, bridges will be most susceptible to some of those icy spots on, on the surface because they're raised up. They can get cold from all sides, so that can produce some problems. But Ben, it's a nice afternoon for a lot of folks. We're just kind of highlighting what dangers there could be out there right now.
Yeah, take advantage. We want people to exercise caution in some of those areas that are getting slush on the roads. But this is a live look at our parking lot outside of our back door. You can see snow starting to accumulate on the windshield and on top of cars. And some of our deck receiving a little bit of snow as well. From what we can tell, not exactly anything in the parking lot pavement just yet. Unlike right now in Walhalla, this is a live look there on South Main Street. We've been there all morning since the snow began, and some slush still on the roads. Traffic is very light. We love seeing that. And here's live in Clemson. It has been one of the neatest pictures we've seen all day. Honestly, it just looks like a postcard from a crisp December day. Look at the trees all white. And here is Falls Park. Snow picking up a little bit more, as you can see. See, folks really enjoying it, understandably so. And hey, I don't blame them. And it doesn't look like anyone's slipping, so no freezing over there yet. Look like a little accumulation on the railings. And people's faces seem to be happy. And it's just a Saturday afternoon. Deal with a little bit of snow. And hey, why not go out and enjoy it? Because it's not too often when you have the day off of work and then you get a little novelty snow and you enjoy yourself. And honestly, I'm glad those folks were able to do that. But again, bridges are going to be an area of concern throughout not only the rest of today, but also tonight, because we're really flirting with the freezing line right now. As temperature at downtown Greenville is at 32 degrees, so we're technically above freezing, but we're probably not going to be later on tonight. Luckily, the moisture is going to start to experience some dry air intruding from the northwest, so that is going to help wrap up the system a little quicker. It's not like it's going to just move through and then move in and move out. It's going to actually get cut short here in the next couple of hours at the very most. Temperatures, as I mentioned, 32 degrees at Spartanburg and Greenville right now, 31 degrees in Clemson, mountains below freezing. We've also got some snow reports coming in from the mountains. We also just got a report in Macon County, North Carolina, 3 to 4 inches of snow. That's one of those winter storm warned areas that was expected to get on the higher side of those snow accumulation totals. Okay. Okay, yep, like I said, this is halftime in the basketball game, and we're just receiving instructions of how and when we're going to toss back to the basketball game that we will air. We'll send it back to regular programming here in the next few minutes. But as you can see, the current satellite and radar showing some heavier snow bands west of Greenville. As you can see, western Anderson County along I-85, some heavy snow bands right before the Georgia line. Clemson still snowing there as we just looked. A little bit lighter snow starting to move into Easley from the west, and we've got overall pretty light snow happening in Greenville. Little heavier snow though farther south into Fountain Inn and Greenwood. Sure enough, we just got the photo evidence, and as you can see, radar picking up on snow there as well, which as we've been saying today, just because the radar might be showing green, our whole atmosphere above about 1,000 feet, if not a little bit lower than that, has been below freezing. So it's one of those rare days where you could be 40 degrees at the surface and still have snow falling in the sky. It's just the likelihood of it sticking to the pavement is going to be a lot lower. So that's the type of day we got. Gaffney looks like you've got some light snow underway. I haven't seen very many pictures from Gaffney so far today.
We've got some good pictures out of Falls Park too, whenever you get a chance to take those. Again, just having a little bit of fun with this. They've got the dogs out. Well, he was zoomed in on one of the puppies out there, but the dogs are frolicking in all of this. The people are enjoying it. Again, definitely not sitting here trying to scare anybody, because this really isn't a bad event at all so far. But we are a bit concerned. There's that dog. I just loved it. They were just, you can tell they're like, what is happening?
Station, aren't we?
We are. We're like Animal Planet.
Very on brand.
Anytime there's a chance to get some puppies on there. But yeah, it's an event to enjoy. We do need to just have our guard up for a few areas of iciness, especially late tonight. But for now, look at the kiddos out there. They're enjoying it.
Exactly. Yeah, this is definitely one to enjoy for sure. And we're going to go live to Walhalla right now to our photographer there. He's got a shot up on South Main Street. As you can see, still on the slushy side with those roads. We've estimated about 2 inches the snow. Excuse me, Kendra, you're rubbing off on me a little bit. Okay. All right. Yep. So we are now going to send it back to regular programming for the second half of the Michigan State basketball game. So if you're watching us in Fox Carolina, that's what you'll see next. And if you want to continue to see our coverage, you can stream us right now on Fox Carolina News Facebook page. And we'll take a quick break, and then we'll send it back to regular programming. And then we'll resume this coverage on, again, Fox Carolina News Facebook page. All right, those of you who are just watching us on Fox Carolina over the air during halftime of the Michigan State basketball game, we are now back live only on Facebook Live on the Fox Carolina News the Facebook page. As you can see, we've still got snow falling. I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, this is Walhalla or Walhalla. Okay, yep, that's where some of the heaviest snow has fallen so far. Around 2 inches or so, it's been estimated by our photographer, which is stationed just off of South Main Street. You see some slush on the roads, which has been the case for about the past hour or two. Some decent accumulation, as you can see, on grassy surfaces. You can see some footprints on some of the sidewalk there, indicating that estimated 2 inches. We haven't got any official reports, but we've gotten some pretty high snow amounts, or the highest totals in terms of this storm in Macon and Raven County, Georgia, which are the only 2 counties that we have under a winter storm warning. So about 3 to 4 inches have fallen in those areas, about 2 in Walhalla. We've also gotten additional reports in places like Easley of around a half an inch. I'm sure we're probably continuing to get some reports in via our National Weather Service chat. Viewer comments on Facebook.
Yeah,
we're just really curious to see where the snow is falling, because sometimes on days like today, radar isn't exactly the best science. So viewer comments are so vital on a day like today.
We appreciate it so much. And take a look in Charlotte as the snow starts to take over. They just issued an airport weather warning.
Interesting.
Because there is a snow accumulating there at Charlotte Douglas International Airport. So that will likely cause some delays.
Wow.
If anybody has any flights out of Charlotte over the next few hours, or if you're heading up there, just know that is going to likely cause some problems. But if you're heading maybe to Atlanta, conditions have improved greatly there. Mm-hmm. I know we're not looking at the radar anymore. We're looking right now, I think, in Oconee County. But Oconee County still in the thick of it, but the back edge of that snow is so quickly approaching.
It is. I mean, can you really notice anything up in the mountains, any indication of any of that snow breaking apart? Because that seemed to be how the model that we viewed our Futurecast, our RPM Futurecast.
Well, let's go back to radar when we get a chance,
sure.
hopefully, and I'll loop it behind you. Yes.
Yep.
You can see a little bit of that
mm-hmm.
breakage in the mountains, the moisture, and like you mentioned, Ben, you're right. It's not going to end necessarily west to east. It's going to slowly kind of shrivel up too.
Yep.
But the problem is I feel like it's got a little more moisture in it than models originally had
Oh
forecasted
yeah, I
as
mean,
well.
it had us. I mean, almost seeing this whole thing disintegrate by around like 2 o'clock. I don't think that's going to happen. But the trend of dry air intruding from the northwest and gradually breaking this thing apart, I think that is going to happen. It's going to happen a lot slower than, say, 45 minutes time. I don't think that's very realistic. But hey, we've seen weirder things, as in like the last 24 hours and how fast this forecast has changed. And not to mention, folks at the National Weather Service doing damage surveys in the wake of Thursday's tornadoes and flooding. So there has just been some serious work being done at the National Weather Service, GSP, and we cannot credit them enough.
And exactly, they've been on the chat, have been talking about some of their, they've been moving through the Charlotte area. If you can go to Max 2 in a second, Scott, just, I've got a picture showing, oh, excuse me, David. We have a picture in Max 2 I would like Ben to show if possible. Just goes to show you how much snow they have received
Look
there.
at that. Snowman. They could build a snowman.
Yep. You probably had to scrape up some snow for that, but
I mean, well, they got a couple inches.
They made it happen. I mean, that's good. And then you've got, okay, I know we're Animal Planet, I guess, but we got the dog running around the snow. This is Traveler's Rest. So it's been snowing enough to accumulate on some of those grassy surfaces. That's one great thing about our system. We can pull in your videos and pictures. All you have to do is post them to our Fox Carolina News Facebook page or any of our individual pages like Ben's or mine, and then we can grab them up.
That's right, yes.
We can go back to regular radar.
Really cool pictures. Thank you, folks, for sending those. And as you can see, satellite and radar starting to see some of this break apart up to the northwest. We're probably, I would say, down to about the last 1 to 2 hours of this event, conservatively estimating. Maybe a little longer for those of you who live farther east, perhaps, or farther south in like Lawrence, Union, Spartanburg, Gaffney,
and
places
this
like that.
appears to be the peak for Greenville right now. We're seeing the fat flakes fall. I mean, we've got another view. We keep going back to Falls Park, but it is one of our better shots. I think we're going to take a picture of that because you can see the snow kind of accumulating on the railings, and it's coming down pretty good, Ben.
Yeah, it is. And you can see, I would say that's a solid, at the very least, ½ inch or so on the railings there. So the elevated surface starting to get some decent accumulation, which is pretty similar to what we're experiencing here at the station. About a ½ inch or so. It might have gone up since we last looked at the parking lot. Some of the cars, I mean, we're not getting anything on the pavement just yet, but folks seem to still be enjoying their time in snowy Greenville on this Saturday afternoon. Again, some railings experiencing accumulations. This is a live look down at I-85, just off exit 54 from our tower where our station's located. Looks like the interstate's not looking too bad. Wet, which again might be a little concerning for later on tonight, as there will probably be some refreezing issues. Definitely in areas like bridges and overpasses where we've gotten several reports from county officials in mostly Pickens and Oconee County, where the snow totals have been the highest, have had some slick and slushy spots on area bridges. And as you can see, we're going to pan around. Notice the snow is falling at a pretty good rate. So yeah, I think Kendra definitely is right in saying that we're seeing our peak in snowfall. And safe to say, that drier air coming from the northwest is going to maybe slow things down over the next couple of hours.
And just wanted to, while we show some of these pictures, reiterate that Oconee County, they're saying that their E911 communication center is staffed and ready for calls for service. From Sheriff Crenshaw here, our deputies stand ready to respond to calls for service and will respond accordingly. And according to the sheriff, there have been traffic accidents in various places in the county. There are also reports Highway 76 from Long Creek to the Georgia-South Carolina state line is currently shut down. So again, these are the areas hardest hit in our viewing area over in western Oconee County, and they are staffed and ready to help folks. And there have been accidents, but hopefully we won't see those.
Okay, well that's a good report then, because they are ready. It's better to be on that side of things as opposed to the other where you get a million calls and then you've got to call everyone in on their weekend, and yeah, that's no.
Well, and it's tough. We wish that this could be something they had 3 days notice on that would happen, but it's just how weather goes.
Yep,
we really
sometimes
saw this evolve quickly.
There's spring, summer, winter, fall, then there's winter in the south, sort of a beast of its own in its own regard. This is a live look in Clemson, still falling flakes. You can see beautiful white trees having some accumulation in the grass as well. Still really not getting much, if any, accumulation on the walking paths there. So as you can see, rooftops getting accumulation. So yeah, almost strictly getting accumulation on grassy surfaces and elevated surfaces. But boy, that is just a beautiful, beautiful shot there outside of just a shot of Clemson University. Okay, now we're going to take a look at some viewer photos. This is a Piedmont. We've got some light snow accumulated in the grass. Looks like it's still not in the pavement, but that's a nice shot there. This is a West Union, as you can see. That's Oconee County. Yep. So I could see probably I'd say that's at least an inch accumulating on those little birdhouses there. Those cute little birdhouses, about an inch or two on there. And this is a park of Sumter National Forest. The Stump House excuse me. What was that?
Walhalla.
Walhalla. Okay, excuse me. Stump House Ranger Station, the Sumter National Forest. This is in Walhalla. Quite a bit of snow accumulating in grass, not completely covering it, so it's only about a couple of inches. And if we take the radar, notice that snow is on the exiting end of things, wouldn't you say, Kendra?
Yeah, no, I was going to show the last hour or so. So in the last hour, we had snow all the way back as far north of Atlanta, and now it's starting to close in on our western section. So we're beginning to see things slowly ease up, at least off to the west, and we'll see that trend for us. And like Ben was saying, we're going to have that lessening trend when it comes to drying out, and we're going to see it thin out over the next couple of hours. So we're taking a look at the snow across our area. This is another look at Falls Park as oh, it is amazing. And you can see the falls too.
Wow, yeah.
So, just an evidence of the two crazy weather events that we've seen recently as the water is rushing and the snow is accumulating all around it. So
I feel like
pretty crazy.
Those two superpositioned in this same photo, as you said, really do sum up the last about 72 hours in our weather. So you've got snow and a rushing falls. One of the crazier stretches of weather I've ever experienced.
There we go. More dogs out in all of this
Oh,
weather,
there you go.
enjoying their time.
How could we not? How could we not? But yep, still looks like the pavement is wet. At this point, I would say our window is closing in terms of if we're going to see any sort of accumulation on any paved surfaces. This is I-85 northbound at mile marker 21. I believe this would probably be Anderson or Oconee County, Anderson County, yep. And as you can see, traveling is a little slow, and I'm starting to wonder if some of this is slush on the interstate. Based on how slow the cars are going, part of me thinks that it might be. I know we've gotten reports from county officials on secondary roads where things have gotten a bit slushy and thus slick. So okay, so this is our tower cam at Pelham Road. No icy roads or anything like that. These are wet, but keep in mind the temperature is 32 degrees at the downtown Greenville Airport. As you can see, traffic moving a little slow, and it's pretty light, which is good. Folks enjoying the snow from home, which is always a good thing just for traffic's sake. And as you can see, folks making their way along the Pelham Road exit of I-85 at mile marker 54, exit 54. And as you can see, snow's still falling. I mean, the flakes may have gotten a little smaller, and I think our snow rate has also gone down quite a bit as well. If we take a look at the radar, notice that we have still some decent snow rates, mainly west of Greenville. As you can see, Clemson, as we looked previously, still some light to moderate snow falling, and still getting some decent snowfall rates right along the Georgia side of the South Carolina-Georgia line, right along 85. So I would say avoid this area if possible. I-85 right along the Georgia-South Carolina line. And Kendra, you've got an update for us.
Well, just going to take over for a minute, Ben, while you give your voice a rest. I know we kind of are swapping back and forth. So again, the snow continues to fall along I-85, and there are going to be some bands still that are heavy in Oconee County, portions of northeast Georgia, but it's a good sign for lessening of our problems as you see some of that snow lighten up in the western portion of our northeast Georgia area, as well as our Oconee County region. Again, just getting a few things set up. Sorry about that. But you can see the scattered snow showers continue across the upstate, but we've seen it all break up off to the west. We have a brand new shot to bring you here in a second. They'll be letting me know exactly what we're going to be looking at. It's on Highway 253, so okay, right outside of State Park. So you can see northern Greenville County, and again, accumulating snow. The actual roads are looking okay. Oh, we're still set up for Ben's shot. Sorry about that. But you can see that we have wet roads, some slush. So I think Ben was right in that, like, it's been snowing over I-85 for the last 2 to 3 hours, as there's likely going to be some of that slushy area. Doesn't mean it's frozen over, but certainly could get in the way of drivers as they're trying to be out and about right now. So again, northern Greenville County, Here's a look at what you're experiencing, and it's not too far off from what we're getting in the southern parts of Greenville County too, toward Greenville, and even Simpsonville has seen some measurable snowfall off to the side of the road especially. But as we look at the actual roadways, most of them just wet. And it's kind of nice. We can see how people are driving out in all of this too. And it does appear that they're taking it slower and don't seem to be having any issues when it comes to slipping and sliding around. So we're heading to Walhalla. This has been our area for the most snow in our immediate viewing area has happened in Oconee County. And we'll get those official snow totals back here shortly. But you can see roads are staying clear for the most part. We are looking though at main roads. Roads that are less traveled will likely have snow over them, but that will improve as the snow stops here pretty soon. It does look like it's falling at a lighter pace than we had before, but it is still definitely coming down out there. But again, Walhalla, one of the hardest hit areas, but we could see this scene in Greenville a little bit later because we're going to continue to see the snow in Greenville at least for the next hour or so until things start to slowly wind down. And we're thinking by 3 to 4 p.m. most of this will be done. But that doesn't mean all of the residual issues will be done from it. There could still be some spotty areas of black ice tomorrow morning. The good news is we're not going to see temperatures just absolutely plummet. They may cool a degree or two from where they are now, but it does appear that we're going to potentially be watching out for isolated black ice. Here's a look at those rushing falls there. Again, we received over 5 inches of rain in the upstate with severe weather on Thursday. Temperatures got up to around 70 degrees. Now it's near freezing and we're dealing with snow coming down. So it's been a crazy couple of days forecast wise. And that snow again has kind of crept up on us in that the models weren't doing a very good job of picking up on that snow until just recently. And we're taking a look outside our studios, I-85 and Pelham Road. And you can see we've got wet roadways. We have the snow coating the grassy surfaces there, but no major problems at this point. So crazy. Everything looks so different with snow on it. It's almost hard to recognize our normal landmarks here. But again, looking at on the east side of Greenville, looking toward Pelham and I-85. So take it slow if you are out and about in all of this. And we are Facebook Live right now. We currently have a basketball game on Fox, but we will continue to bring updates on both of those spots as warranted. But the good news is that temperatures have stayed at freezing or above. Now we've seen the dew point rise to the upper 20s. That's a good thing in that we're not seeing it so much farther, so much cooler. Whenever you have these two numbers that are different, this is always lower than this number unless it's raining, they usually come together. And 32 is where we fall into in the Greenville or at the Greer at GSP International Airport. But 29 still our dew points. There's a chance we could get down to 31 briefly a little bit later on since this dew point still has to come up just a little bit more. But again, we're continuing to monitor the situation as snow will keep coming down for the next couple hours. Let's go on back to radar, Ben, if you get a chance, and take a look at what we can expect over the next few hours. Now, the back edge, we see this is, I believe, a 3-hour loop. And you can see how the snow has been pretty persistent for the last 2 to 3 hours. Actually, I believe, yeah, it is a 3-hour loop. Look at that. So it's been coming down for 3 hours, just starting to end slowly in Oconee County. And that'll be the story in Greenville and in Pickens counties, Anderson County as well, as we go toward the 2:30, 3 o'clock time frame. And then as we head into the western sections of the upstate, Spartanburg, over toward Cherokee and Union counties, that's when the snow will start to let up a little bit later. But as Ben was talking about, we're also going to be seeing a drying trend too. The system isn't going to be really able to hold together completely all the way across our area. At least that's what forecast models are showing. And we're seeing some drying up in western North Carolina, the snow breaking up, and we'll likely see a little bit of that trend head into the upstate a bit later on. So this is a fun snow for so many. We're emphasizing we're not looking at major dangers, but we are on and we're here with the Fox Carolina weather team because of the fact that there could be some small issues on roadways, especially bridges and overpasses. Main roads have been looking okay this afternoon. Late tonight, we could have some black ice develop. But as it looks right now, we have a winter weather advisory for Greenville, Anderson. It does not include spots like Spartanburg and Lawrence. They were saying in the National Weather Service discussion they may be extending this just depending on whether they get enough snow to meet the criteria for that winter weather advisory. So we'll have to see how much snow we end up with as it continues to push eastward. The accumulations have not been as big as it moves east. So right now I think it's a good call to kind of hold off on that, because we may not see the impacts in Spartanburg and Lawrence as well as Cherokee Union counties as we're seeing farther to the west. So for now, mountains also included. We also have Macon and Rabun counties in a winter storm warning because of the fact that we've got large accumulations of snow and more widespread issues on all of those roadways. And Ben, we keep emphasizing the fact that the snow is going to be ending here soon. But, there still could be lingering issues into tonight. But the good news is this is one of the better scenarios for us to get snow in the upstate to avoid major problems.
It is. And the thing is, this is around when the freezing line in the upper atmosphere would start retreating northward. And that does appear to be happening if we take a look at the radar again. And that's actually going to help our temperatures overnight tonight. I still think we'll dip below freezing, but I don't think it's going to plummet like we oftentimes see in these winter weather scenarios. So this is by no means your average Joe winter storm. This has been one of the most abnormal things I've ever forecast in my life. So if I'm being completely honest with you. As you can see though, snow basically was had by everybody. And as a matter of fact, I just got a brand new report out of Toccoa. 4.5 inches of snow up in Stevens County, Georgia. So as you can see, it's in the northern half of the county right there, just below Rabun County, which Rabun County also impressive totals, around 4 or so inches reported just west of the town of Tiger. And again, Georgia has been the breadwinner so far, that being closely followed by Macon County, North Carolina, Franklin, I believe, reporting around 3 to 4 inches, informally reported on National Weather Service chat by, I believe, a ham radio operator. And looking at the radar, you can see that there might be some green showing up, and there could be some rain falling in Newberry County. But for the most part, we've gotten pictures from all of these places that are sort of on the apparent rain-snow line. It's really not the rain-snow line today, just due to special circumstances. But anywhere from Greenwood up to Lawrence to West Union, we have had reports from every single one of these places. Or not reports, but viewer pictures, which again, hugely helpful on days like today where we have some radar issues due to atmospheric conditions, and those were hugely helpful. And I want to thank everyone for sending those into our studio. In the meantime, as you can see, we've still got snow falling in Greenville, and we've got a number of shots that we've had up across the area this afternoon, and we continue to monitor those shots here. It's been snowing in Walhalla, which, as you can see on radar, the snow is actually expected to stop here in the next few minutes, probably, if I'm being really honest with you. This is a live look at Falls Park. We've got some pretty good snow falling. As you can see, we've got light to moderate snow, I would call that. Folks enjoying it from the bridge, and as you can see, they seem to be really enjoying it. I would say about 1/2 to 3/4 of an inch showing up on the railing. This is a live look in Walhalla. As you can see, not much snow. We've got very, very light snow falling, pretty much ending how it started. Small flakes, not really falling too quickly, and that is pretty much the snow's exit from the area. So as you can see, western portions of Oconee County expected to stop snowing too. We've also got a shot in Greenville County as well. You can see State Park Road in Greenville County, as you can see, call that light snow falling. You can see it's causing some visibility issues. Roads a little bit on the wet side, doesn't appear to be slushy. And we're going to move live to Clemson now. We are going to take that shot. It's been one of our beautiful shots of the day, as we've seen some pretty heavy snowfall at times, or at least to the point where it caused some major visibility loss down to less than 1/3 of a mile at times. But once we get that shot up, we can really see, there it is. As you can see, trees looking white, the rooftops white, just like a photo out of a Christmas catalog. Notice though the pavement, really not covered with snow. It might be slushy in some spots, but for the most part, most shots of the pavement anywhere east of Oconee County have been on the wet side as opposed to snowy side. Pickens County, I wouldn't be surprised to see or hear of some slushy pavements. We've already gotten some reports out of Pickens County and Oconee County that things are a bit on the slushy side, especially more secondary roads bridges and overpasses. And so there is some slipperiness to those roads. Not sure if that's a word, but either way, just use caution if you're out and about using secondary roads this evening. Temperatures are likely to dip below freezing tonight. They're already riding that fine line right now. Temperature of 32, dew point of 29 at GSP. 29 you have to sort of see as the minimum the temperature can get, as low as it can get. Here is our tower cam. This is I-85, or I should say this is Pelham Road just by the station. As you can see, traffic flowing pretty smoothly, but notice it's not quite as easy to see the cars as it was, say, a few minutes ago. So snow rates have picked up a little bit more in the city of Greenville on the eastern side. It might look a little bit different outside your window, but snow falling pretty heavily here and the outside of Greenville. Granted, that's a little bit higher up, but at the surface, as you can see, not quite as intense with that snow. That's a very light snow falling on the deck. We were starting to see a little bit accumulate there on our weather deck, and I would say that's probably, I'd say a ½ inch, give or take. But as you can see, this is just an elevated surface. Don't have any evidence of it accumulating on the cement. It looks a little bit wet there, maybe a little slushy in some spots in our side parking lot. There's the latest satellite and radar. Notice that we've got some heavier snow bands moving from Easley into the west side of Greenville. So snow might be a little bit on the lighter side in downtown Greenville, but as you can see, we've got a little bit heavier snow that's moving in from the west. And there you can see, yep, snow a little bit lighter here. So the snow we were looking at off of Pelham Road, this is the east side of Greenville, a little bit lighter, but higher up the snow can be a little bit thicker. So pretty light snow happening at the station. Spartanburg, overall pretty light to moderate snow. Heavier snow the farther south you go toward the Piedmont area, southern Greenville into eastern Anderson County. Still some snow falling in Lawrence and Greenwood, some very rare beneficiaries of snow today. I know there are a lot of those folks that watch us on, our continuous winter weather coverage when we've got one of those major Gulf systems that we get to the cold side of and produce snow along 85 and north, and then they only get rain. Well, today they were the opposite and lucky to have gotten snow, of course, for the snow lovers out there. But as you can see on the north side of this, starting to see a bit of drier air start to intrude a little bit more, but really not doing as fast as the models indicated that it would. So this is pretty much right on track as far as timing is concerned. Probably another couple hours max left of some snow in some of our areas, and this thing should be out of here by 3
Yeah, and it looks like we're making some pretty decent snow right as it's starting to slowly end in Anderson, because that band is pretty decent. Now again, we're looking in Anderson.
Yep.
Look at that.
Yeah,
Anderson County. This may be the heaviest it gets for you, and then it will start to let up a good bit beyond here.
Yeah, if we can take the radar real quick. Note this view. This is mile marker 21, Anderson County along 85. I bet it's probably part of this little band right here if I were a betting man. So.
One last hurrah for the snow there in Anderson. And I'm excited for the kids there, because I do feel like Anderson a lot of times ends up on, like you were saying, on the losing end of getting much snow with these Gulf systems. 85 and north is usually the dividing line.
It is, yeah, and we're going to go back to Walhalla now, take a look at the last of the snow, presumably, as we're seeing the radar indicate that is moving to the east pretty steadily toward Clemson, as you're about to wrap up your snow as well. Some lingering flurries, that's what we've got for the time being. Traffic still very light, roads still a bit slushy, and we've seen this road. This is South Main Street, by the way, in Walhalla. Traffic has been flowing pretty darn smoothly, all things considered, that what's going on today. Folks staying at home, or so it appears to be, which is the right thing to do. Just go out and play in it too. I mean, it's one of those things where luckily that's not our condition outside. This is a pretty low-key snow event, a novelty as we've been calling it, but things could get a bit slick in our westernmost counties like Pickens and Oconee, as county officials have been warning. Anderson, yeah, I think it's safe to say Anderson is getting the heaviest of the snowfall as we speak. Just a little bit south of 85. I think that tower camera probably was involved in, I mean, granted, the heaviest snow isn't over the interstate, but it was probably viewing some of this activity just to the west of Anderson. So Anderson, you may well end with a bang here this afternoon.
Yeah, absolutely. And then of course right behind it, we're starting to see the end of the snow. And I was looking outside our station, we're still seeing some fairly light snow currently, but you go up a little bit higher. This is our tower cam outside the station. I mean, it's still, coming down pretty good. The flakes aren't nearly as fat as they were in the western sections.
Full-bodied.
Yeah, that's right. Not trying to be offensive to the snowflakes, excuse me. But yes, we're not looking at as full of flakes as we had earlier. And that probably is to do with the moisture content. We're losing it a little bit.
Right. And the thing is, with the tower being farther up, sometimes things might seem hazier than they are at the surface. I mean, if you compare the difference between how it looks right now, obviously it looks like we've got some major visibility loss when at the surface. You look at the shot outside of our station, it's, a little bit, lighter snow. It's very light snow, as a matter of fact, with some very small elevated surface accumulation. So most of the area and most of the reports that we've gotten so far out of Greenville County, correct me if I'm wrong, Kendra, have been mostly elevated surfaces. I have not heard yet of anything outside of an elevated or grassy surface of accumulated snow.
At least not from National Weather Service, and it doesn't appear that we're having a lot of, abnormally high traffic incidents. But we're going to keep an eye on it for you.
I was going to say, I remember I did see that slight uptick in accidents in Oconee County, and it sounds like they've got it under control, but are urging residents to take it extra easy on those secondary roads, especially like interstates, main thoroughfares, generally should be okay. But it's those bridges, which those can turn slick even on main roads. So
it just looks like we've got a couple of incidents that are, fairly close to downtown Greenville, and one on US 25. And we don't even know, chances are it's probably somewhat weather related, but we are not looking at widespread slippery spots. And I'm encouraged to see very few incidents right now in Pickens County. We've got about 7 or 8 in Oconee County, which would make sense, some around Lake Keowee. And then we're also seeing a couple in Spartanburg too, as that snow is moving in, but it's not overwhelmingly high at this point.
Yeah, in terms of the 85 corridor, I would say Greenville into Spartanburg, definitely on the lighter side of the snow. As you can see, Spartanburg, Greenville, light to maybe moderate snow in some places, a little bit more moderate to heavy in places like Anderson County. We've had a lot of northeast Georgia spots register some pretty high snow amounts. Our newest one being Toccoa, and this is in Stevens County. You can see it right there on the map, 4.5 inches of snow. So Stevens County very outperforming its forecast snow total.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to put all those totals together later.
It will, and I'm really curious to see how the next few hours are going to unwind. We're expecting this system to diminish and eventually move out as it does so, but I'm also curious to see that temperature profile. That's going to be another key factor here.
How much rebound do we get after this all moves out?
Exactly, because if this moves out, we're probably going to see in the city of Greenville, in terms of GSP, probably within the next hour, maybe 2 at the most, I think we're probably going to see the last of this move out. And that's going to give us a couple more hours before the sun sets. So that is going to give us a couple more hours to, like you said, potentially rebound. So
we certainly hope.
Yeah, exactly. Like, we're hoping this thing gets out of here faster, just so we're not in danger of getting too low on the thermometer tonight, which, luckily we've got a warm air mass taking this place. Like, as this moves out, it's actually going to be a warmer air mass.
There's no major cold front passing through that's going to drop temperatures. You see Clemson here, pretty big difference when you go from Clemson, and then I believe we have one of Falls Park here where our photographer, I think it's Mateo, is parked right there on the falls. And you can see there, snow's not coming down too heavily, but it's coming down, and then juxtaposed to the rapid motion of that river.
The week in a nutshell, essentially.
Yeah, we've had a long week, that's for sure. In the weather world and just everyone else having to deal with this, and those who've dealt with the catastrophic flooding in Pickens County. It's just been awful. At least this event, not even close to catastrophic. It's more of just a nuisance for folks that don't want the snow, and making a few kids happy too.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And as I've been saying all day during our wall-to-wall broadcast, which if I'm repeating myself, apologies, but this is so huge for this is a lot of kids' first snows that they've ever seen. So just to put that in perspective, think about someone who is 4 or 5 years old in, say, Greenwood, South Carolina. Kendra's lived here longer than I have, but there's a chance that he or she has never seen snow before. So that's a pretty special thing. Even I, as a little kid, we got a lot more of it growing up in the Midwest, but as you can see, we've got some snow still falling here. This is mile marker 56, so this is just before Spartanburg County into Greenville County. Some flakes still flying around the area. It doesn't look too heavy. Looks like traffic is overall light, flowing smoothly. It doesn't appear cars aren't slowing too much, so that to me means travel must be okay, but just be a little extra careful on area roads, and especially the secondary roads. So the interstates so far, from what we've seen on our tower cameras, reports from local officials, we have had not very many issues. This is State Park Road here in Greenville County. As you can see, the roads are definitely wet. We've got some light to moderate snow. You can see the flakes falling there at a pretty decent rate. And as you can see, not really any traffic issues being seen. Cars don't look like they're going too fast, which is always good to see. We've got some low accumulation on the grass. Not too high. I would say that's not too much more than, say, a half an inch. You can still see the grass blades popping up above the snow. And yeah, Kendra.
Just an update. We got the Greenville County School update. I mean, I know it's a Saturday, but there are some Saturday events. Beth Brotherton mentioning that they are postponing evening events to ensure all afternoon activities conclude in time for families to travel safely home during the daylight hours. Since temperatures are still above freezing, but there have been reports of some snowy patches on roads. We don't want anybody to get in harm's way. So a lot of the officials out there keeping all of this in mind.
That's true. That's true. That's really good information. And yeah, the snowy patches. And it's probably some of those secondary roads, some of those residential streets that are probably some of the culprits there. And it's best to play it safe, especially when you've got a temperature of 32 degrees with snow that's been falling for a solid couple of hours. And then you add the fact that we've got such a borderline situation. You're practically dealing with a loaded weapon at that point, just because it is so borderline to where, the wrong call could result in dozens of people on the road at a time where they wouldn't have to otherwise be. So that's the latest satellite and radar. As you can see, the heaviest bands are moving south of 85. And at this point, it appears that 85 and north, the snowfall rates have decreased substantially. Still some pretty steady snowfall around Pickens County, but that is certainly wound down a little bit more as we've seen the system progress eastward. And as you can see, still snowing in a good chunk of the upstate. Really, we're starting to wrap things up in our westernmost locations like Walhalla, where we've been live from since the beginning of this event once the first flakes fell earlier this morning, I guess, but it was more like 10 or 11 a.m.
I mean, hopefully a relief for those who, don't want to have major problems in Walhalla. We're starting to see that snow wind down, and there's the breakage of the snow from west to east, and we're going to continue to see at least some fairly heavy bands of snow move through Anderson County, Lawrence County, up toward Greenville County. But again, it's going to be a slow and steady process to get all of this to move on out. But then as we go into the later evening hours, we're going to see most of it shrivel up, be over Charlotte, and we'll get some time for things to dry up a bit before the night falls. We don't expect widespread problems overnight, but I absolutely do think that we could have some patches of black ice, especially in the northern parts of the upstate and up in the mountains, those bridges and overpasses, but we are not going to get the flash freeze like so many nights after we get snow when temperatures just plummet into the teens or 20s. Tonight, the forecast is to be right around 30 degrees, so it's not going to be enough to freeze over everything, but there will be spots that are troublesome late tonight, early tomorrow morning. But then we get up to near 60 on Sunday, so I mean, this weather, I just can't. But anyway, I don't say that often on Facebook Live, but it is true. It has just been crazy. But we are trying to keep you one step ahead of it, even though it has been a challenge just to forecast this. And notice on the back edge here, we have the snow that's ending. We still are in the thick of it around Greenville and Spartanburg, but it's not going to last a whole lot longer. So if you haven't had an opportunity to get the kids out in it, you still do. And it's not dangerous to do so. We're Facebook Live mainly because this is, snow is a big deal around here, but we're not telling you that we're having major issues at all. Right now, we've seen the snow lighten up a little bit around Pelham and I-85. This is at our Fox Carolina studio, and you can see the snow is accumulated on those trees out there. And of course, anything elevated is more susceptible to seeing some of that. And we'll still see at least another couple good snow bursts here in the Greenville area before it's all done. But even just looking at radar right now, it kind of appears that we're beginning to see the breakage of that snow even down here. Every scan, you see it kind of break up a little bit more. So we're losing that moisture that we need to keep the snow machine going. So make sure that the kids get an opportunity to, maybe you have some teenagers that sleep super late that are, just really getting going, but they want to enjoy some snow. They've got a couple hours left. I guess this would be really late if they slept this late. But of course, kiddos, you never want to miss the opportunity to play out in it. So I think my daughter's gotten a couple good hours in Greenville, that's for sure. Spartanburg kids, you've got some time before the back edge of this moves on through. And there'll still be some snow on grassy surfaces. Build us a snowman, send pictures. We want to see all of those. And of course, we'll share them coming up on the 10 o'clock news tonight and on social media on our Facebook page. We'll have a whole slideshow of all the cool pictures that we've gotten today. So overall, a very benign snow, a very safe snow for most areas. Roads have been wet, but there are chances for some patchy, icy areas. We've got some pictures. We're going to head on to our website so that we can show you some of the pictures. Livonia, Georgia. Look at your snow, and it's still coming down. Even though the moisture's thinning out, we're still getting some flurries out there. So covering all those grassy areas. Like to see these kind of pictures where you get the fluffy, fun snow all over the grass, but the road's looking okay right now. This is Piedmont. So again, mostly this is the story. And again, this is back at Livonia. But this is just kind of a slideshow looking at all the different pictures that were sent in. This also looks like it's probably Livonia as well. So just beautiful out there, at least if you like snow. Some people are just like, no way. The ones that are saying that, well, it's starting to shrivel up. Chris Scott, one person I know that is not a snow fan.
Yeah,
But, it's okay. I get it because he does traffic and he doesn't like when traffic gets bad. So, you've got light snow still coming down around Hartwell, Livonia. Look at that, though, starting to end slowly there. Maybe a few patches of flurry action. But that is what it looks like in northeast Georgia. And, Ben, we are seeing the different colors here interact. We're starting to see some warmer air and different levels come in. So that is causing at least the algorithm to try to put out some rain, even though it might not be actually raining, but might have a few raindrops mixed in.
There are going to be a few things learned from this little snow event,
Yeah.
that's for sure. But yeah, Lake Hartwell, snow falling on it. I mean, the lake's not going to freeze. I mean, you have to be several days and weeks worth of freezing,
Right.
sub-freezing temperatures for that. So no concern of that. But yeah, it's just amazing. So many of these pictures that we've seen, places like, Greenwood, South Carolina, Livonia, where we just looked. I mean, how many times have you seen a snow picture in our market from one of those places?
It's been a while since they've gotten a good snow, and this one again is going to start to wind down. Let's zoom out so we can see everybody here, and now a good chunk of Oconee County, including Clemson. Maybe we can take the Clemson cam here in a second to see if that really is verifying at this point. The radar is sometimes not to be trusted as well because you can still have snow and flurries and it doesn't show up on radar because it can be so difficult to pick up. But certainly it's much lighter. We have a few of those light flakes falling or flying in the air right now, but we'll see this all wind down slowly around the Clemson area. And as it moves off, there will be some breakage in this fog and reduced visibility. So that'll be good for drivers, but certainly still seeing the flakes around Clemson University. And again, that haze in the distance there. So we can go back to radar when we get a chance, or if we're going another picture, we can as well. There we go. Here's our radar. And it is breaking up to a little bit in Greenville County. Some heavier snow bands that go from Anderson extending through spots like Princeton and up toward Woodruff. Even Lawrence seeing some of those darker colors where the snow is coming down a little heavier. So we can get about 1 inch per hour as it looks right now. At least that seems to be how it's falling at this point. But we have not seen enough concern in Spartanburg, Cherokee, Union, Lawrence for that winter weather advisory to be extended just yet. But there's a chance because this event's not done yet. And there's a chance we could end up with a winter weather advisory for some of our eastern counties. But for now, as we loop it, we're seeing some improving conditions. If it hasn't stopped snowing, it's certainly gotten a lot lighter for you in much of northeast Georgia and Oconee County. And then you go on over into the upstate through the 85 corridor. It's still a solid snow. So, anyone who's trying to travel from perhaps Greenville up towards Charlotte, it's going to be in snow for most of the time. But Charlotte area, we were talking about the airport reporting snow there, some travel delays because of it. It's accumulating on some of the airplanes. We have light snow up in the mountains for the most part. So again, continuing to see what we have seen for the last 2 to 3 hours, and that has been I hate to call it a surprise snow necessarily because we knew it was potentially going to snow, but it's certainly to the scope of which was not expected necessarily until very early tomorrow morning when some of the newest data came in. And want to give Isaac a shout out, and Ben, we were on top of this throughout the morning, making sure you knew that the forecast was changing and we were looking at that snow move in, and we're covering it as a Fox Carolina weather team today so that you know what's going on. But again, a fun snow falling across the upstate as temperatures have generally hovered near freezing or above. So that means that we're not having major road issues. We're having a good snowman building scenario for some areas. And then notice we're seeing 33 in Toccoa and Hartwell. Do you remember what the readings were earlier, Ben? I want to say it was 32 there earlier. I want to say they may have come up a degree.
I believe so. Yeah, Hartwell was 30. it was, I think it was
We'll
32.
I'll take a look back at the
Yeah.
observations.
But yeah.
But hopefully that's a sign that we will see some rebound in temperatures as the line moves through. Models indicated that, but at this point, this is more of a nowcasting situation than really looking at the models a whole lot. But again, still sitting at 32 for Greenville, Spartanburg. I'd like Clemson to come up from 31.
Same.
If we can get that to happen once that snow pushes on through. Speaking of Clemson and Greenville, I know we have some live shots of both of those places. We've been in Falls Park. Shout out to our photographers out there that have been keeping us posted. They've been moving around so that we can get some of the best snow pictures out of all of this. We'll go back to radar quick and then just let me know if there's a good live picture to show. But right now, they're all pretty good because snow has been coming down. Around the Falls Park area, though, it does not look like the snow's terribly heavy at this point. Might even have a little bit of rain mixed in. That's what's tough. And if we can talk to Mateo again, potentially, or Edwin, either way, let me know if they're available to chat on our Facebook Live, because I think they could give us even better perspective. And Ben, if you see any comments, too, on kind of how the snow's going in certain areas, let me know.
Sure.
But just from these pictures and just from our view of these different areas, it does appear that we may see some lessening of the snow a little bit. Kind of looks like a mix of sleet and snow at this point around the Falls Park area. So still beautiful, still folks out there on the bridge. I love that. Just enjoying it as much as they can because, hey, this could be our last snow of the season. I'd certainly hate to say that because I think I'll jinx myself. But, you know, looking at the long range, it's very, very warm. We're talking about 60s next week. The following week doesn't look like we'll see any major cold air masses coming in. And we're in that window of opportunity this time of year to get snow. And then once you get into March, it starts going down, down, down when it comes to the chances of getting any snows. So again, I believe this right here is Oconee State Park Road, northern Greenville County. As the roads are wet, the snow is still coming down, and it could be mixed with a few other things. It's hard, you're just not seeing those big flakes that we were seeing earlier. But it is accumulating on the side of the road. We're looking at mile marker 56, though, here just on the east side of well, right around Greenville, in fact, not too far off from the Pelham Road exit, as we continue to see the snow falling there. So snow is covering those grassy surfaces. Have not seen any indication of problems there along our major interstates. And you can see at Clemson University as we still have flakes flying there, even though the back edge of that snow, I'm watching it on the radar over the corner, and it is right there. Like as in, I think the snow machine will get shut off in about 10 to 15 minutes around Clemson. So Clemson students, if you're watching, you want to go out and get some social media pictures of the snow flying around, go out now because it is ending. This is our back deck, and if unless my eyes deceive me, oh, there we go. I can kind of see it when it's up against the trees. It's still snowing, just a much lighter, finer snow than what we've been seeing. And that's why it's a little tougher to see immediately when you look at some of these live pictures. But you can see it kind of juxtaposed against the darker color of the tree there. It is still coming down. In a minute, when Ben's giving you a rundown, I may run outside just to kind of see exactly what it's doing around Greenville. But just a sign that at least that part of the forecast may be verifying where things are drying out a bit. We're not seeing as heavy of snow, and then it'll slowly dissipate and wind down as we head through the next hour and a half to 2 hours, Ben.
Yeah, that's right. And that matches up with very well on what's happening on radar. As you can see, the heavier snow bands, the darker shades of blue, those are mainly south of 85. So odds are that snow is probably a bit heavier in Simpsonville than it is, say, in Travelers Rest. But as you can see, some heavier snow bands setting up farther south of 85. Still some snow falling across the I-85 corridor. But as we've seen on our various tower cams, things have been generally wet on the roads. Some roads have been slushy, but mainly in those areas farthest west where we had some of the heaviest snowfall, which were mostly confined to Pickens and Oconee County, and not far behind was Anderson, a rare beneficiary of some snow this evening, this morning and afternoon, I should say. It might feel like an evening. We've been here long enough, but as you can see, most of that snow has pushed a little bit farther south. We've even had reports of snow in Abbeville County. We've seen pictures from Livonia, Georgia. Had a viewer comment just now say it's still snowing in Hartwell, Georgia, and yeah, Georgia. I mean, even Toccoa, Georgia, had a viewer report via Isaac Williams that received 5 inches of snow. So yeah, this has just been one of those odd weather days, and Yeah, we've just had a novelty snowfall, and luckily it was just a novelty. But again, still trying to hammer the point home that Pickens and Oconee counties, some secondary roads could be a bit dicey. Slushy, a little bit slick, especially in the case of bridges and overpasses. So those are potential issues as we go throughout the overnight. Now, we're not going to exactly see our temperature plummet as you would typically expect with a winter storm system. We've actually got some slightly warmer air off to the west, and I'm really curious to see a regional temperature chart just to show what temperatures are like, because I believe our wind is from the west, I believe, or at least some places it's from the west, but that's also where our drier air is coming in from too.
Sorry, my mic's in queue now. I did want to mention I did just go outside as well, and the snow is a much finer snow. I mean, really, you can tell that we're getting into much more dry air, and we're not getting those big, like the moisture-rich flakes, the big flakes coming down. It's a much finer snow.
Yeah, good rendition. This is our Falls Park shot here in downtown Greenville. Usually you can see them right about here. It's usually easier when you've got the contrast of the darker trees in the background. So very small flakes, and it's safe to say we are in what's going to end up being our home stretch here in terms of the snow, and it doesn't look like, based as I glance at radar. This is our shot of our tower camera. This is I-85 just off of exit 54. Cars flowing smoothly. Doesn't appear to be anyone slowing down, which isn't a bad thing in some respects. Obviously, it's wet, so things could get a bit slick, but not very slushy. Doesn't seem to be very slick, or so it appears. But if we could take our Max 1 once again, I want to take a look at our regional temperature map, because Kendra, did you double check that our winds were either from the west or southwest?
I will double check that while you show this map. But it is interesting to see warmer air toward Atlanta, where they have had snow. So and there's still some cloud cover too. So hopefully an encouraging sign that temperatures will be warming up here shortly.
That's right. But I just want to give everyone just a sense of the air mass that is on this system's heels, because we had cold air plunge into our area behind our Thursday severe weather and flooding outbreak. So the cold air was already in place. We just had some jet stream energy and a little bit of Gulf moisture produce what we're seeing right now. And behind that system, basically, that was going to be a short-lived stay for those colder temperatures. So here's the extent of the cold. Atlanta, also the beneficiaries of some snow this morning, ranging from a rain-snow mix to parts of town to others getting some really big snowflakes that were sticking to grassy and elevated surfaces. So as you can see, we're in the 30s in some of our snow-rich places, but look at that. Birmingham and Montgomery, lower and middle 50s. So this is the air mass that's going to be pushing into our area. So that's why temperatures aren't expected to plummet much overnight. I think we'll get maybe a degree or a few degrees cooler, but this is by no means a typical day of weather. Like, our high temperature probably happened, if I'm guessing, probably at some point a few hours ago before the snow started. So that's pretty much been the extent we've fallen ever since. 32 is exactly where we sit at in Greenville. Atlanta sitting at 39. So Atlanta was able to rebound after the snow moved out. See, Atlanta received the snow right during the time as low temperature as it happened, which was during the late night, early morning hours. So that happened during that time, which is why they were a little bit more certain that they would get impacted, to be impacted by the system. The reason why we were a little bit skeptical is because the timing just wasn't right, as in, like, we would have had 4, 5, 6 hours to warm up after sunrise, but when your low temperature ends up being 4 to 5 degrees colder than expected, then you've got to dig yourself more out of a hole than you otherwise would in terms of warming, especially when clouds inhibit warming. So that's exactly what happened today. But as you can see, warmer air is not far away. It is essentially 2 states over. Alabama is sitting in the 50s, while Atlanta and Greenville are sitting with some snow falling right now. So it has been an interesting day, and then some, in the southeast United States today. It is quite the myriad of weather phenomena happening at the same time. So luckily, not too much damage reported in terms of, or I should say, not too much danger reported with these areas of snow. I would say the highest areas of concern would be Pickens, Oconee, and Anderson counties. We've had county officials from Oconee County that are ready to receive 911 calls. We've had some reports of some slush on secondary roads, area bridges in Pickens and Oconee County. Anderson, that's not too far away from you either. We haven't had really too many accident reports. We've had a few of them reported in Oconee County. There's a bit of an uptick after the snow started falling for a little while, and it's also where we had the most snowfall. So the most snow that stuck to area roads would have been Oconee and parts of Pickens County. But as of now, to my knowledge, based on our shots from around town in Greenville and the county, we have not had any snow stick to any roads. That being said, we've also had a report via National Weather Service chat. One of our emergency managers, a staff member at the Greenville County Emergency Management Office, she is in Paris Mountain and says that some roads are slushy. So Paris Mountain, that's more of an elevation thing. So TR probably not experiencing that, but areas farther north probably are as you get up closer to the Continental Divide. So Paris Mountain, things get a bit slushy and a bit slick. Just be careful on area bridges, driving around not only today, but also potentially tonight. And tonight could very well be one of those nights where the temperature stays steady. It's a phenomenon we often see in those wedge type patterns, Kendra, and sometimes irregular things can happen like that. And I think tonight could very well be one of them, but it's going to be so close.
Oh, it will be. And you know, winds are generally calm in our area. There's some to the out of the south. Atlanta is firmly in a south-southwest wind. So we're going to see that take over as we go into the late night hours tonight. So there's no reason to think that we're going to see temperatures plummet by any stretch, but they could hover near freezing pretty much all night long, maybe even drop a degree or two, depending on if any dry air is able to work its way in. But good news is that our dew points, our temperatures are coming together as this snow falls, so we'll have a good idea of where temperatures will sit for a good chunk of the overnight at this point.
That's good, yeah. To see that dew point come up, that definitely gives you, from a forecasting standpoint, Kendra, a little bit of lingo talk here. As we forecast, if the dew point's a lot lower than the temperature, that means the temperature can drop a lot more, which if you're worried about water freezing to ice, then that's a big concern if your dew point's really low. But if your dew point's at 31 or 32, that means your temperature, theoretically, it would take a lot of work for it to drop to 31, with the dew point having to do the same thing. So there is our latest satellite and radar notice. Things starting to wrap up to some extent in the mountains. This might be slightly misleading, as we're still seeing a few flurries here in Greenville. That's pretty much what we've been reduced to. You have to look right here on the left-hand side of your screen, as it's basically in the background, up against the background, making it a lot easier to see. So a very light snow, I'd call that in downtown Greenville. This is Falls Park and the Liberty Bridge. A lot of folks taking advantage of the beautiful scenic snow. Doesn't happen very often in the south, and they definitely seem like they are having a good time. And this is from our back deck here on the Fox Carolina studio. Notice some snow accumulating in the tree, and that's pretty much been the extent of our accumulation at the station. We've had a little bit of snow end up on cars. We've ended up with a little bit of snow on our deck, and it's been about a half an inch of accumulation or so. But in terms of the pavement, which is usually a little bit warmer than a lot of other surfaces, especially metal surfaces out in this cold, because it was pretty cold last night. We got down to, I believe, 24 degrees earlier this morning, so a very, very cold air mass that followed that severe weather outbreak. So that's pretty much the extent of the snow in the city of Greenville. Very light snow, just flurries, and as you can see, that matches up pretty well on radar. I'd be willing to bet if you went farther south toward, say, Piedmont, Fountain Inn, down toward Lawrence County, it's basically the southern ends of all these counties, the southern half of Anderson County, which you're about to wrap up your snow. It's still snowing there now, obviously, but it's you're on the final stretch, Anderson. Both city and county, but if you live farther east, it's going to last a little longer. But as you can see, that is probably where the heaviest snow, you see that stripe that stretches from about Woodruff in Spartanburg County west to about the city of Anderson, or a little bit farther west of it. So areas along and north of 85, much lighter side. So this is State Park Road here in Greenville County. You can see cars driving around. We've seen various shots of this. Looks like we've got a decent snowfall happening there. Looks like this is a little bit on the heavier side compared to what we've been seeing here at the station. So as you can see, light to moderate snowflakes. Looks like pretty small flakes as well. We've seen these a lot bigger at times. We've seen some of these flakes the size of coins. Doesn't matter what coin, but either way, they have been big in some places. But I think we're starting to see some of the effects of some of this dry air on the backside of the system. So once you get into about the back third of the swath of snow on radar, that's pretty good evidence that we're getting okay, yeah, so that's the extent of the snow around the city of Greenville. So I want to bring in weekend anchor Shale Ramin. She has been in touch with various emergency responders today. It's been a busy day. Obviously, this snow has been one for the books in terms of coming out of nowhere. And Shale, tell me about some of the conversations you've had here throughout the day. As I know, folks, especially out west in Pickens and Oconee County, especially Pickens County, they have had their hands full this past few days. And it's been one of the areas that's been a little bit on the snowier side, along with Oconee County. So tell me what you've been hearing from those people.
Yeah, Oconee County County seems to be the area that's really taking it the hardest. But Ben, as you said just a few seconds ago, I don't think many people really anticipated all of this snow actually sticking to the ground. Of course, I know you guys had mentioned that we would get some of accumulation in the area, but I think the thing that's really throwing off these first responders is how much it's actually sticking. They thought it would stick to some bushes, but not necessarily those roads. So Oconee County, we did check in with all emergency management around the area. Oconee County, we heard from them a little bit ago. Highway 78 is actually shut down just between the Georgia and South Carolina state line there. So if you are out and about, everybody in all counties really needs to be vigilant behind the wheel. We always think, okay, well, we're kind of driving along here and we feel good, but then all of a sudden you hit that rough patch and, you know, it gets hard to keep things on track. So be sure to be vigilant behind the wheel. Greenwood County, we are still waiting to hear back from them, but Pickens County, they have been taking a beating kind of throughout the day as well. High impacted areas right along 123, Highway 123 there. Always a big area, especially on the weekend, Saturday and Sunday, we see a lot of traffic. And I think because it picked up a little bit faster throughout the afternoon, they saw about 4 to 5 accidents right along 123 there. There is one right underway right now. First responders are going to Five Forks Road and Highway 123 right there in Liberty. So again, they are seeing a lot of accidents. Obviously, none of this is intentional, but if you can stay off the road, at least for the next couple of hours, definitely do that. In fact, earlier today, right around Sassafras Mountain, they actually had a van, I believe it was, go off the side of the mountain there. So first responders couldn't actually even get to that van because of where it was impacted in the mountain. So they actually had to have a pickup truck come and get that. So again, please be careful. Spartanburg County, they say, you know what, we're crossing our fingers. We just got such a beating with the weather, with the tornado that was impacted in that area over the last couple of days. They're crossing their fingers that they will have no problems as of right now, no power outages in that area. So, you know, Ben, it's something that people really need to be vigilant of. It's beautiful. The thing that we would say is if you can, curl up with a cup of hot cocoa and just kind of stay inside before you hit places like, Interstate 85.
Absolutely. And luckily the interstate, based on our tower cams, have been okay. But all that information Shale just told you, very valuable. A lot of emergency managers have been worked and then some to the core these past few days with the severe weather outbreak on Thursday and then all of a sudden transitioning into a brief little shot at winter weather. Luckily, this has been overall a pretty novelty snow, but as Shale was saying, there are still some potential hazards out there, many of them in Oconee County, where the snow has been sticking to the surface of the pavement. So that is something that we have to be concerned with, and that's something that we have to really heed words by. So as you can see, Pickens and Oconee County, those are two places that have winter weather advisories, and Pickens and Oconee County have been places that have been on the snowier side, which matches up pretty well with our forecast, which is, as you can see, we've got winter storm warnings in effect for Macon and Rabun counties. That's where some of our highest totals have been coming from, but we've even had some high totals as well coming from Stevens County, Toccoa, reporting 5 inches of snow in parts of the area. And just to nail this home, it's like, I know this is a fun novelty snow, but just be aware the reason why this winter weather advisory is in effect for these purple shaded areas is because of travel. It's just because area roads could be either slick or partially covered, whether they be secondary roads, whether they be main thoroughfares. Based on what we've been seeing and hearing, the interstate has been okay for the most part. And, fun fact, the winter weather advisory, they used to call that a travel advisory. So that's basically why they issue it. It's just such a borderline thing where they have to heed on the side of caution. They have to be on the side of caution when they issue these things, especially after you're recovering from severe weather outbreak, after the fatigue I imagine that's been setting in at the National Weather Service Greenville-Spartanburg office. There is the latest satellite and radar. Notice the heaviest snow still being found south of the interstate. Radar still wanting to pick up some green, meaning rain, but that has not been the case. Pretty much every single place we have gotten a report from, there's been some brief rain-snow mixes in places. There has been mostly snow. Pretty much every report we've gotten in places that seem like they're on the dividing line, places like Greenwood, Lawrence, even Union counties, mostly snow. We've even seen viewer pictures of it. So as you can see, the snow still making its way through the upstate. As you can see, places like Clemson, you're starting to wrap up your snow. So once this gets out of your area, you're done for the evening. Greenville, I'd say we got another about half hour, 45 minutes left of very light snow. As we've been seeing on our various camera shots around the city of Greenville, the snow has been, for the most part, light, but as you can see, it gets a tiny bit heavier the farther south you go towards, say, Simpsonville and Malden, but the heaviest in the county is still right along the county intersection of Lawrence, Greenville, Anderson, and Abbeville counties. So as you can see, Abbeville and Greenwood also beneficiaries of snow. We have had pictures from just about every place around the viewing area, ranging from Livonia, Georgia, Elberton, Georgia, Anderson, South Carolina. A lot of places that can oftentimes be scrubbed by a winter weather system. We'll get some snow here in Greenville, but someone in Anderson, Lawrence might not, and usually they don't, which luckily this system really didn't discriminate for those of you who really want snow. But again, can't stress enough just to be extra careful in those winter weather advised areas, just because temperatures are close to freezing and things are going to get a little bit dicey, especially on secondary roads, bridges, and overpasses. And Shale rattled off that list of things that she learned from county officials from around the area, including Oconee County, Pickens County, Spartanburg County, just what they're expecting. And I know we heard from the Oconee County Emergency Management, I believe, or at least their county sheriff's office, one of their agencies, that they were staffing their 911 dispatch center and they are ready to field calls. And there have been a handful of accidents, which again, Shale had that information for us. And Shale, do you have anything new, or do you mind just repeating everything that you've heard from all these county officials throughout the day?
Absolutely. So something else to keep in mind, Greenville County Schools, they've advised that principals, school officials, just to wrap up the day, say, hey, you know what, let's get everybody home before we can, really get anything rolling. Also, I think a lot of people are wondering what tomorrow is going to look like. We've been seeing a lot of chatter as far as if this is going to actually stick, and if so, for how long. We are still waiting to hear back from a few other counties, but right now Spartanburg says that they don't have any major power outages or anything like that. They're just, really saying their biggest keynote there was just to say everybody who's on the road, like here you see on our DOT cam along 85, to just take it slow throughout the area. But Greenville is saying, what, try and stay home if you can. We did check in with them. They said that they had no major issues, and you're taking a live look from our tower cam there right off of interchange 385 and 85 as well. You can still see people out and about, and you can't blame them. It's the weekend, we got to get out and about to run of our errands. Some people going to work there, but if you can, be mindful. I think something that threw emergency responders off a little bit is what they were telling me is, because we had this nice weather earlier in the week and then we had the flooding and the tornadoes, they really didn't have a whole lot of time to turn around to expect all this snow. So, they didn't really have a whole lot of time to put salt down, to get their vehicles chained up, and I think that is playing a huge role in as far as what we're seeing stick right now. Pickens County, they have a wreck right now on 123, so if you're in that area, very, that there's a lot of traffic around 123 and 153 bends, so definitely keep it slow. They've seen about 4 to 5 accidents already on that road. Again, they did not have time to salt. This happened so quickly, and it picked up a lot more than they thought it would, so be diligent out there.
That's good, but it's good to hear that they've been salting the roads, which isn't a cure-all, but it is good that those county officials have been on their mark and making sure that the roads are as safe as they can be given the current situation. So Pickens and Oconee County, those are probably the two places that have seen the most impact in terms of snow sticking to the pavement and some area roads. So just be extra cautious on area roads. Luckily, it's a Saturday. I know you might have social plans, but thank goodness that we don't have school in session or anything like that. And better news, our temperature isn't expected to drop that much. I'm really curious to see how our temperature responds after this snow moves to the east, which theoretically this will be out of here by 3 o'clock here in the city of Greenville. So I'm curious to see, 3, 4, 5, 6 o'clock. The sun sets after 6 o'clock nowadays, so that's going to give us about 3 hours of rebounding in terms of temperature, because we saw what happened in Atlanta. They were around the freezing mark as the snow moved through this morning, which is typically what happens when snow moves through if you're a little bit above freezing. But Atlanta has since rebounded to 39 degrees. Granted, they've had a little bit longer, but not that much longer. So 39 degrees doesn't look too shabby right now. And honestly, if we were at 39 degrees by the time we hit sunset, I'm a betting man we probably wouldn't drop drop below freezing at all by tomorrow morning as we see that warm air mass enter in from the west. So this is one of the most atypical setups I've seen since I've been down here. I've been here for about 3.5 years, which I know isn't, in the grand scheme of things, isn't very long, but you see a lot of crazy things in terms of weather in this part of the country, and sometimes you just add things to the list. As you can see, satellite and radar, mountain snow starting to taper off a little bit more, but one thing I want to note in western North Carolina is that we have this secondary band of snow showers, I should say, and part of that winter weather advisory includes Madison, Yancey, and Mitchell counties. That is for that secondary round of snow showers, where we could see an additional 2 inches or so of snow. So just a note for those of you in the high country, Madison, Yancey, and Mitchell counties. So as we're seeing this current snow exit the mountains, you're going to have a secondary band of snow up along the Tennessee line, of which we could see some potentially damaging weather.
And Ben, we're actually seeing, I'm kind of scrolling through some feeds here, sorry to interrupt you,
okay.
but you know, Furman University is actually playing out in the snow a little bit here, and you can see that they actually won their lacrosse game in the snow. So, and they were saying, you know, we didn't anticipate this happening, but at least we made our goal and things like that. So different areas, people are either soaking it up or, you know, having kind of a hard time with it.
Okay, and it sounds
Okay.
a little bit like, I don't know if Mike's in queue yet, but we are going to be going on air, Fox Carolina, on our channel to have another update as we're in between basketball games right now. So we'll be taking a quick pause and coming right back on to programming.
We are live with breaking news, tracking winter weather this afternoon. We are looking live from our tower camera just off I-85 and mile marker 54. Traffic flowing smoothly, but snow falling a little bit lighter than we last updated you as we are between basketball games live on the air on Fox Carolina. So again, this is our tower camera live on the east side of Greenville, just off of mile marker 54 on I-85. Very light traffic, which is good to see as we've seen some snow falling at a pretty decent rate of speed here in the city of Greenville and the county too. But some places it's been sticking to the road a little bit more so than others, like in Walhalla, Oconee County, a good chunk there, as we've been getting updates from county officials that have been gathering information regarding some wrecks around those counties, as well as some potential road closures as well. So we've got a myriad of information coming in. Luckily, we're not seeing too many road issues in Greenville County as we look live on I-85, but officials are warning residents of Pickens and Oconee County, especially where we've seen essentially the most snow stick to the pavement, which we've seen it stick to grassy surfaces here in Greenville. But the main difference is Oconee and Pickens County have seen some decent accumulation on area roads and sidewalks, around 2 inches or so. One of our photographers who was live in Walhalla, he estimated there was around 2 inches or so, which might end up being a little higher since it snowed for a little while longer after that report was given to me. But right now I want to take our live shot in Falls Park. This is in downtown Greenville. Still on the lighter side of things, as you can see, light to steady snow as we are on the closing side of this system. And as you can see, some nice little doggers playing in the snow. We've got some snow in the grass, but the pavement, as you can see, just a little bit on the wet side as we go farther in that shot. So pavement is for the most part wet, Kendra, but in terms of snow, this is a kind of a cool novelty in Greenville. But to other places, it's a little bit more dangerous in places like Oconee County.
Absolutely. We heard Shale talk about all the issues they've had in Oconee County. Hasn't been quite the same as we've continued in northern Greenville County here to just see those wet roadways. And it looks like snow covering those surfaces that are not roads, because of course the roads are going to retain heat a little bit better. And you can really see that here at Clemson University as well. The snow covering some of the trees, all the areas just off of those sidewalks and roads, and still wet and potentially slushy on some of the roadways as well. So again, you can continue to see that we've got a look across our area of snow coming down in Clemson, snow coming down in Anderson still, but very light. And you can see the back edge of all of that working its way through. So Greenville, Spartanburg, you're still in it, but not for much longer. And even on the back edge of this, there's still going to be some flurries, but nothing that's going to be much in the way of meaningful, measurable snowfall. You can see in Anderson, it's starting to end. Light rain, well, we'll see if that's light rain. It still shows it as that. And we've had mixed reports of rain and snow across the Greenwood and Abbeville. Over towards Spartanburg, still a steady snowfall for you around Cherokee County, Gaffney, with the moisture starting to wear out with this system. So we're seeing it break up, especially up in western North Carolina. Nice clearing off to the west. You can see our cloud shield here. May get a little few peaks of sunshine as this all pushes on through. Atlanta areas, Ben mentioned, has actually seen temperatures rebound pretty nicely, and we're hoping for that as we'll be seeing this end between the 3 and 4 o'clock hours. We're not going to have a whole lot of time to warm up, but there's no sign that we're going to see temperatures plummet either. So even if temps sit at around 32 degrees during the overnight, we're going to continue to see the potential for isolated slick spots, but nothing that's going to freeze over completely. But we will have a few concerns tomorrow morning. So local churches, certainly keep this in mind for your services. You want to stay posted on the forecast. We'll be bringing you updates Sunday morning as well if there are any problems on the roads. Again, don't expect them to be widespread. But this has been a nice snow for our areas. We're seeing mostly the accumulations on those grassy areas, wet roads, and kids, you've got about 30 more minutes of snow in Greenville, maybe even less than that. So you want to get out and play in it while you can. Same thing in Spartanburg. It's perfectly safe to get out and play in this, and we're seeing all of this wrap up off to the west. I want to pitch it over to Shale Ramin, our weekend anchor, who's been sitting here and graciously getting all sorts of reports and whatnot, and keep us posted kind of on what you're seeing. I know Oconee County has really been the area of greatest concern for drivers.
Yeah, Oconee County and Pickens County have really been hit the hardest. I know we were in downtown Greenville and we saw the pups and everything kind of playing around. That's the fun side of the snow. But then on the other side, you have things like what you see right here. This is right around Highway 11. Pickens County Emergency Management, first responders, fire rescue, they were all out there just a little bit ago. Thankfully, I believe this driver is okay, but what happened here is because of all of the snow that we've been seeing in that area, you know, the roads were not salted correctly. So basically, because of all the weather we've been seeing, they didn't have time to turn around and get things really prepared. And we're seeing a lot more than what we anticipated. So with that being said, there was a car that actually hit a tree right there and ended up skidding off the side of the road. So hopefully that doesn't happen around our area. You're taking a live look over our tower cam right off of Interstate 85 and 385 there, and hopefully everybody stays vigilant, take it slow. That's really, we've been checking in with emergency management from all different counties, and that's really the basic message that they have for everybody is just take it slow.
And I feel like we're watching, everyone seems to be behaving out there when it comes to driving, for sure.
Thankfully, they haven't seen a whole lot of accidents, just some fender benders, but take it slow.
Yeah, and you know, again, rain in and of itself can cause problems on roadways, but mostly what we've seen has just been the wet weather, but some slush has been reported on spots on I-85 as well as many other areas in our viewing area. This is mile marker 56, so we're looking just before you would get to areas like downtown Greenville, Pelham Road, and then beyond, we're continuing towards Spartanburg. We're going to continue to see a little bit of snow falling as we move forward in time. But the good news is it's going to wrap up. We ought to see a little bit of warming, and then we'll have to watch tonight for some isolated patchy areas. So let's take a look at, oh, say that one more time. Oh, this our deck shot. It's just shot up, so it was hard to tell where we were. But you can see the snow very lightly falling. In fact, I went outside earlier, we were getting the larger flakes, and now it's almost like very, very fine snow, meaning that we're getting a little bit of drier air that's working in, and it's not going to be as heavy, not going to add up as much as what we were getting earlier, but it's still coming down for folks. And you can see, I mean, still absolutely coming down outside our station. It's just not as big as it was once before. We're going to have about 20 more minutes to 30 minutes of snow in the Greenville area. Let me pitch it back over to Shale quick. We're looking at State Park Road, northern Greenville County.
Just to reiterate, too, we were talking about taking it slow, but you were looking at our tower cam just a second ago. DOT troopers have been really pushing out there. Bridges are a major concern. I don't know if you guys are looking at obviously pushing out black ice as being a possibility maybe throughout the night, but either way, bridges are really something that they are hitting hard with just advising people to take that slow. And Kendra, you said they were doing a pretty good job of taking it slow, but bridges are definitely some areas that they want to remind people to be vigilant on.
Yeah, and a lot of times you'll see signs before bridges that says, you know, ice is over in cold weather. That's where you really have to approach with caution. These roads that you're looking at right now, and this is State Park Road, we're looking at the warmth from the ground, keeping these roads from freezing over or having any icy spots. Everything's just melting on contact. These roads are warm. Think about how warm it was all week long. It's residual. It's held on to some of that warmth. But you go to a bridge or an overpass and it's raised up from the ground and the cold air can get under it. It can be over it, so it cools it off much faster. So those bridges and overpasses are the first ones to freeze over. So Shale, that's a great point. We've got to make sure that folks are vigilant, especially as night falls, that bridges and overpasses could become slick. That's just, something to think about. And in a minute, we're going to go back to Max 1. I don't want to yet. I think Ben's still finishing up, but it looks like he's working on some snow totals for us. But we also have tower cam that we can show you of the snow coming down. I mean, look at this. Amazing, beautiful picture and some fun being had in Falls Park. Hopefully we can take that. All right, let's see how this goes. We've got a little guy getting on his sled. We'll see. Maybe he's going to wait for a second, but that's what a lot of kids are doing, and that hill that everybody rolls down. My daughter loves to just do a complete a roll down that hill. Right at the entrance of Falls Park. I'll back out and we'll see what kind of success he has there. That is awesome.
He's going for it.
Oh, yeah.
Even with just a little bit of snow still left, you can see the grass below him, but he's going for it.
You know what? That's one thing I feel like the upstate kids are really good at making the best of little snows. We can scrape it all up and make a really dirty snowman. But this is beautiful. Look outside of our TV station right now as this just looks like a scene from another area, not the upstate, because we just have not seen much in the way of snow lately. Now, in a second, I think we can go back to graphics, and Ben has put together a totals map for us. This isn't everywhere, but this gives you an idea. I mean, my goodness, Mountain Rest in Oconee County, Toccoa, Georgia, 4.5 inches of snow. Easily and Williamston, same thing around Greenville from what I can tell, about a 1/2 inch to 1 inch. So it's not been big, not been huge snow, but we're getting more of these from National Weather Service, right?
We are, yep, and it's primarily from places that are starting to wrap up their snow. So in other words, these aren't exactly running totals. I mean, Toccoa, these are some of our westernmost locations. I mean, we might have a few leftover flurries in Easley, but I can't imagine that adding much to what the little that they already have.
Yeah, and we'll get those Greenville totals for you and Anderson and whatnot once the snow actually wraps up. But again, just goes to show you the scope of this event. And we knew the snow would be heavier the farther west you live, and of course into the higher elevations, Mountain Rest and over toward Toccoa. We also have a DOT camera I want to get to show you of what's going on along I-85, or I think this is 385. Perhaps we'll find out. Yes, I-385 as the snow comes down. Again, good driving. We've got wet roads and those trees just beautifully coated in that snowfall right now. And at the back edge of the snow, it is starting to approach areas like Greenville and Anderson currently. So Ben, we anticipate at least you may still see flurries after about an hour from now, but really the meaningful snow is going to wrap up here shortly.
That's right. Yeah. I mean, as I've been saying today, in a lot of cases, the snow will end about the same way it began, which was very slowly, small flakes, and then it really got into the bigger flakes and the deeper moisture, things like that. But on the exiting end of things, same type of deal. Be just flurries, lighter moisture, and it's because we had mostly dry air surrounding the system, so it's really to no surprise that it's behaving this way.
Yeah, absolutely. And the way it came on with such a vengeance with those heavy snow, the big snow, the flakes that were so large. That is kind of wound down. We're not seeing a whole lot of that in really any part of our area, but flakes still flying around Greenville. And the coating on the grass in the Greenville area you can see on the east side, it's not too impressive. So some spots in Greenville just not seeing as much as you did farther to the west, but enough, again, like we saw in Falls Park, for the kids to have a little bit of fun in it. And we're going to go back to Falls Park because that really is our main area in the Greenville, or our main shot for the Greenville area. And it's where kids are having a good time, parents getting their energy out. And boy, I tell you what, oh gosh, look at that. Looks like he might be sledding down in kind of like a makeshift thing over there on the left. That's going to be cool to see. But yeah, they're having fun. Kids love to make the most of a little bit of snow. I know my daughter has been out playing in it some, making some snowballs and just in general soaking it up because, a lot of the kids were actually in school when the last snow actually happened on that was that Friday morning about a week and a half ago. when all of that came through. A lot of kids had to stay in the classroom when all of it happened, so at least the kids can get out and enjoy it. Looks like we'll get one more shot of some sledding here, but I know, Shale, you continue to monitor Facebook as well as all of our resources when it comes to roads, and pleased to see that at least a good chunk of our area is doing A-OK right now.
Yeah, absolutely. I just checked back in with Greenville County Emergency Management, and they say they're seeing things kind of slow down in their area, but their biggest concern is the higher elevation areas. So right around Highway 11, that's where they're seeing the most impact in that county. Greenville County Schools have said if you can stay inside, please do that. They want all, activities throughout the night tonight to be kind of put on the back burner and for safety to come first. So a lot of people are wondering whether this will stick. We saw Falls Park a few minutes ago with Kendra. A lot of people a lot of kids, because the tornadoes we saw, the flooding that we saw earlier this week, a lot of them didn't have school on Friday. So this is a prime opportunity for them to have a long weekend and enjoy a little bit of the snow too as well. Over in Pickens County, we had a wreck over there right along 123, but you can see that this is Pickens County, and someone actually sent this into our newsroom. We're seeing a lot of you guys send pictures in, and we appreciate that because it's good to see what's going on right outside of your window. I know it looks a little bit different for everybody. You can see the American flag there. This is Anderson County. Thankfully, emergency management there says that they have seen no major reports, just some good snow on grass, trees, and bushes, things like that. So definitely keep calm when you are behind the wheel, because this is kind of what we've been seeing right along Highway 11 in Pickens County as well. Somebody actually, that driver skidded on the road, hit a tree, and then you can see that their taillights are facing out towards the highway. So just a good reminder, take things slow, even if things seem okay. Troopers actually have put out beware of bridges. You're actually looking at that right now along I-385 and 85 there. So just be careful when you are behind the wheel throughout the day. Again, Greenville County is saying they're mostly concerned about the high elevation areas there, but just a fun time to get outside, get outdoors, have some fun, because we know it's not going to last forever, but it is something to be mindful of when you are behind the wheel. Greenville County was saying that they are basically wrapping up all activities for the evening.
Okay, yeah, and Beth Brotherton made a good point. The worst of it is not going to be right now. It'll likely be after night falls, and just how bad it gets is to be examined, because the chances of us is plummeting much below freezing or it's not very high. But I do think that there are going to be areas that stay at freezing or maybe a hair below that into the overnight, which would be enough to cause some patches of ice on bridges and overpasses. So we will continue to bring you updates on that potential threat. But right now, again, you can see most bridges doing just fine, especially the ones that have been traveled on a good bit. Let's go back to radar if we can. Well, Ben, when you get a chance, let's pop radar up once there we go. Oh, no, never mind. We're sledding. Oh, gosh, on our back, too. There's that makeshift sled I was talking about. It works. I like that.
He's being creative.
Absolutely. How many of us actually own sleds,
Right.
Exactly. It's ingenuity, as David Bray, our director, said. You got to have the ingenuity. It looks like kind of, oh, yeah, it's cardboard. I mean, that's ingenious, because, again, we don't get snow enough to really invest in good sleds around here.
And by the time you get out there to go buy one, the snow is going to be long since passed.
Great point.
Yeah.
Exactly. You get one, you get all geared up, and then wait a minute, the back edge of the snow is moving out. So,
Thrifty, too.
Here it is. So, yeah, exactly. So I like the idea of sliding down with a little bit of cardboard. We've got clearing conditions for the western upstate. Off to the west, nothing else is heading our way. So we're going to see this improve greatly. And if you're watching Fox, or we're on Fox Carolina now, if you are going to be wanting to watch the basketball game, when the next one tips off, we will go back to regular programming. So if you're waiting for that game to start, I just wanted to let you know that we will be going back to the game. This is not a life-threatening situation. We're not going to break into that program. We just wanted to stick with you in this situation where we're having something very unusual happen. And again, it's a pretty good snow for us in the upstate, as well as in the mountains, where they deal with it a little better up there. It's a little more normal. But look at this, Ben. This part of the computer model is actually verifying where the rain is really trying to take over, even though I'm not buying that much of that's rain. At least a rain-snow mix, most likely, in spots.
This is the first time where I've had the number of snow reports across the area strongly outweigh the rain reports.
Yes.
Usually winter weather, normal winter storms, you get a lot of rain reports, or like still rain here, still rain here. Today it was pretty much all snow.
It sure was. And you know, there's the latest view. This is exactly what's happening right now, or at least a couple minutes ago as the radar beam was sent back. And you can see Greenville, Spartanburg still with some snow, but that dry air is taking over. Light rain, maybe some snow mixed in around Greenwood, Union County. We had a report out of Lockhart of some of that snow. Here we are in northern Greenville County, State Park Road, wet, and you can kind of see some dripping here as things are also melting a bit. I'll be really interested to see how this ends up looking in the next couple of hours, how much melting we do get. But we are going to be pitching back to basketball right now. Thanks for sticking with us for your coverage. Just go on to Fox Carolina News on Facebook and download the Fox Carolina News app for much more information. We're going to stay on. We're not going anywhere. We're just going back to the game for those who want to see some basketball. Okay. I believe we've pitched back to programming. Oh, excuse me. Okay, we're back on Facebook Live. Oh, goodness. All right. We're having so much fun today, I tell you. And it has been fun. Again, I just sent a picture to our newsroom of my daughter and Joe Gagnon's daughter out playing in the snow. They somehow managed to build a pretty decent snowman out of the snow. This is making a lot of kids really, really happy because I think we talked about it. Some of the kids may have missed out on much. If you're just joining us on Facebook Live, we're looking in northern Greenville County. Cars moving along just fine on these roads. The main concern now really will, as the snow moves out, we're going to be on temperature watch to see how these temperatures behave into the evening and overnight hours. No indicator that we're going to see temps plummet. I do not expect tomorrow morning for things to just be a sheet of ice by any stretch. And the good news is, too, a lot of this moisture on the road will have at least a few hours to dry out a bit before we end up seeing nightfall happen and before temperatures start getting closer to freezing in many areas. So here's a look at the latest radar. Really breaking. This is a 3-hour loop. So notice it's been snowing for a while, but there we are. Breaking up in Greenville, south toward Anderson, Clemson. I'd be interested to see the Clemson cam here in a minute to see exactly how this is all behaving in the Clemson area. And then we also got Gaffney stuck in the snow currently, but mountains, you're drying out very fast. So this is going to continue. We're going to jump over to Clemson. I think David's got us all set up. So it looks like some flurries at this point. So even on the back edge where we're not seeing any snow on radar, the snow's not totally done. We're going to see the lingering moisture fall in the form of flurries, but that's not going to add up to anything on the roadways. And you can see wet walkways there along Clemson University, and you can see the snow that is piling up on the side. But overall, we're grateful to see that we have not seen major issues out of all of this. But speaking of, I want to go to the DOT camera here at mile marker 39, which is a bit closer to the Anderson area. Where we've had some, there's a bridge I think that we're looking at. Yeah, there we are looking at right now. And, that's where you're going to have to take it the slowest, especially once sun goes down. We're going to have some major concerns. And I say major. All it takes is one little patch of ice to cause a lot of problems, and that's where we're going to be the most vulnerable to issues. There's our tower cam at Pelham Road and I-85 as cars are moving along just fine. Businesses staying open, everything's all good. Activities canceled for Greenville County schools. And that sounds silly. I know it's a Saturday, but there are events apparently that were going on that will not be happening later, and everything else that's happening today will end at its appointed time so that parents can get their kids and be safe. Now let's look outside our station as we're seeing just very fine kind of a mist-like snow outside, not really adding up to a whole lot anymore. So main event is winding down for us, guys. Sorry for the kiddos, but happy for those adults that just want to be able to get out. Now, Ben is vigilantly working. They just took Max 1, though, Ben, so we may need to go back to radar when you get a chance. But he's building some snow totals for us right now. And you can see we've seen some pretty healthy totals out of all this, but there it all goes to the east. So Spartanburg, Gaffney, you're really the only ones that are kind of stuck in the snow at this point. Greenville, it's become much finer, much drier snow, so we're just not seeing it add up quite as much. In the mountains, seeing that snow thin out as well. And around Greenwood, I'd be interested, I'm going to hop on social here in a minute to see what all they're saying in Greenwood County, but it's showing rain there right now. Temperatures are in the mid-30s for Greenwood, so you may be getting rain and a kind of a rain-snow mix at this point. But, currently, not looking too bad out there. I know, Shale, again, you're keeping us posted on what is happening on social media, as well as your connection with all of the, road crews out there, and hopefully nothing too bad so far.
I think the thing that we've been really seeing the most, Kendra, is the fact of I know that we anticipated a little bit of snow, but I think the biggest
surprise factor.
Yes, I mean the amount of statuses, the amount of people commenting on our Facebook page saying we went from 70s to flooding to tornadoes to now snow. It's definitely been a whirlwind, so I think they are definitely ready for things to calm down. Oconee County and Pickens counties, they have definitely been hit today, that's for sure, and it went from kind of slow and steady to then picking up. Highway 76 from Long Creek, right there on the Georgia-South Carolina state line, that is currently shut down in Oconee County, and of course they have people on staff. They've actually staffed some of their E911 communication centers more today just because of the snow, so they are ready to go for anything that really happens that way. Pickens County, they have also had a few accidents right along Highway 123. Definitely a popular area, especially over the weekend. Sometimes that's, standstill traffic, and today they saw at least 4 to 5 accidents already on there. So just because the snow is slowing down a little bit, that doesn't mean that we are completely out of the clear. Troopers want to remind everybody to take it slow, especially on bridges. If you are crossing that, you just never know what might happen. You're taking a live look right over 385 right there. That's mile marker 39, as you heard Kendra said, a little bit closer to the Anderson County line. I just checked in with emergency management over in Anderson County there, and they said that they thankfully haven't seen a whole lot of problems, but they were a little bit surprised to see how much this snow was actually sticking. Earlier today, I don't think they anticipated it sticking to the roads as much, and just with all of the crazy weather we've been seeing, salting these roads was a huge factor in some of those accidents. Greenville County Schools, you can see people out and about. This is our tower cam right outside of our station. You can see Chick-fil-A there, right along Pelham Road. Greenville County Schools, even though it is the weekend, as you heard Kendra say, they want to keep everybody inside. If you can have, put on a movie or something tonight instead of going to those activities, it's something they definitely want to remind people of.
The less people on the road, the better in these situations. And it was just looking at some of our Facebook comments. A lot of people are just saying, it's still snowing in Greer, still snowing in Spartanburg, and that's where we still have the snow falling in many spots in those areas. But around Anderson, it's gotten a lot lighter. One lady on Facebook asked, where are those kids playing on the sledding and stuff? That was Falls Park, if we weren't clear enough on that. That hill, right as you come in, you go down those steps, but there's also the hill right next to it. My kids like to just sometimes lay down and roll down that hill, but instead they are sledding down it right now. And now Mateo is across the road, just kind of showing conditions. You know what, Shale? It's funny. Unless you look at the trees, I guess the tops of those little seats over there, it's hard to even tell it did snow. So it's a good thing, but that's the only sad thing sometimes about our area. We just, you have to enjoy it while it's happening, because we're just advantage. We're a warm area. It's hard to keep snow on the ground for very long, but
I know your daughter took full advantage of it with the snowman. So cute. I know some kids will be going out there, and because they didn't have some of them didn't have school on Friday, obviously because of the weather. So this was definitely kind of a double, whammy.
And it was weird because the school is closed not for snow, but for flooding problems, which is crazy. Oh, there we go. That's my daughter, Stella, on the left, and then Sydney Gagnon there on the right, having so much fun in their matching pink jackets. They're in that pink phase right now.
Oh, gotta love it.
Look at
gotta
that
have a little pop of pink.
How did they make?
They did a great job. I don't know if they had some assistance with this, but
I'm guessing they did.
Pretty good.
David, our director's like, they took all the snow around in the whole yard.
It definitely looks like it.
Yeah, it
just
sure
look
does.
how grassy it is.
Grass,
I feel like Joe Gagnon probably got some ice from his freezer too for that one too.
Collaborated it all together.
But it is amazing, and I think they even had a carrot. There are very few people that just have a random carrot on hand, but that's great. They've had so much fun, and again, when Mom has to work, it's nice when she can go play with a friend and have some good times. So thanks for showing that, guys. Yeah, they're having a good time. And so are so many kids, again, around Falls Park and Heck, Anderson, Greenwood, places that don't often get a good snow. We're getting it, but then just keep in mind here pretty shortly, you're probably going to look at a scene like this where it's just going to be wet.
Get kind of slushy. This is where it doesn't get as fun to be out and about just because it is calming down a little bit. Those higher elevation areas, though, I know a lot of that will stick around just a little bit longer.
It sure will.
And I know crews were saying that's really what they're worried about is the higher elevation areas, especially in Greenville County there, to just be mindful as well.
Well, and speaking of, we're looking at State Park Road where the snow continues to come down, but it's pretty light at this point. It's getting much less, and it will continue to do so over the next hour. And as you're driving between now and about 6 p.m., if you see a wet spot on the road, I wouldn't be too concerned about it, especially outside Oconee County. I feel like Oconee County's been hit the hardest. Really watch those bridges there. But everywhere else, if you see somewhere wet, it's probably going to be fine. But overnight, late tonight, early tomorrow morning, if it looks wet, approach it with caution because there is a chance, especially on bridges, that we could see some patches of black ice tomorrow morning because we're just not going to have enough time to dry up from all this moisture.
That's what I was going to ask.
Before we go into tonight.
Tomorrow, okay. Well, really quickly, as far as, because we're going to wrap things up here, and then we are going to come back on to you guys for another Facebook Live starting at 3 o'clock. But really quickly, tomorrow, do we think that, I know the snow is kind of dissipating a little bit. Tomorrow, do we think that we'll see when we wake up tomorrow, snow still on, bushes and things like that?
I do think that there could be, snow still left on bushes and on the ground, especially where we saw over an inch. I think it's going to take a while for that to melt away, especially like Toccoa, Georgia here, 4.5 inches. Less in the, easily, I have a feeling most of your snow is going to be gone by the time we get into tonight. But we're going to be looking at the potential for between about 6 and 9 a.m. Heading to early services for church. Could have some spotty black ice, and we'll be covering it, bringing you more Facebook Live updates as we look ahead to that. But it's about 2:50 right now. We're going to take a 10-minute break since we have been on live and the whole time since about 10 a.m. this morning, maybe even a tad bit earlier than that. So we're going to take a quick break, gather some information. We'll be back with another Facebook Live here right around the 3 o'clock hour to bring you some more updates and some more totals because I know you're sending us a lot of those right now. See you guys in a little bit.